Broadcast presents Major League Baseball. Today live from Jupiter, Florida, it's the Baltimore Orioles versus the St. Louis Cardinals. Another beautiful day here in Florida as the Orioles have just about a week to go down in Florida before they head north to get things underway for the regular season. Today, Mike Messina will be on the mound, Mike Flanagan, as Messina makes his next to last spring training start.
And he's been in just a tremendous group. 2 starts to go. He struggled last time out. Magnificent. 4 innings, just 39 pitches. He's been so good that the young players have been watching him warm up 4 games just to see how it's done.
Well, Mark McGwire will be in the lineup for the St. Louis Cardinals this afternoon as the Orioles kind of wrap things up or get ready to wrap things up here in South Florida. Well, Fred Manfra and Mike Flanagan back at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Orioles and the St. Louis Cardinals this afternoon. And wouldn't you know it, Mike, just as we talk about the beautiful weather here in Florida, a brief storm came through, a little bit of rain. The tarp covered the field, or at least got to the edge of the infield, and then the rain stopped.
That's the way it works here in Florida, I think.
Now, we're going to be working some baseball here this afternoon because the shower is over. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Orioles. A guy who's been hitting very well here in Florida at second base, Delino DeShields. Delino, one of the few Orioles to hit yesterday in the ball game when the Orioles lost 7-1 to the Montreal Expos. DeShields with a couple of doubles and a single in 3 at-bats. And then Rich Amaral gets some action in center field. Brady Anderson still questionable, still a question mark, but Brady is getting his at-bats in Sarasota. Has had a couple of days of good at-bats against minor league opposition. B.J. Surhoff back at left field for a second consecutive day after missing some time out there due to an elbow problem. Albert Bell is the cleanup batter. Then it's Cal Ripken at third base. Jeff Conine, he's back in the field for the first time since March 8th. Conine has been bothered by a couple of things, the rotator cuff problem, and then, of course, the flu, but he is back in the lineup today. Charles Johnson once again doing the catching. Jesse Garcia, Jesus Garcia is the shortstop, and Mike Messina, the ace of the Orioles staff.
Yeah, he's clearly the ace, and he will remain that way, we hope, for a long time.
Now, defensively for the St. Louis Cardinals, and of course, this is not the defense that they'll have out there on opening day because Jim Edmonds was obtained by the St. Louis Cardinals from the Anaheim Angels last night for Kent Bottenfield, a pitcher, and a minor league second baseman by the name of Kennedy. He is not here yet. He will arrive tonight and be in the lineup tomorrow for the St. Louis Cardinals. So here's how they set up. Wilkins behind the plate catching. Mark McGwire, you know all about McGwire. He's at first base. Then the second baseman is a fellow by the name of Placido Polanco. Edgar Renteria, the shortstop, and Fernando Tatis, who had a tremendous year power-wise with 34 home runs last year, is at third base. Sean Dunston in left field. J.D. Drew for the moment in center field, and old friend Eric Davis is the right fielder. On the mound, Andy Venice, and it looks like Venice will be the opening day starter for Tony La Russa and the Cardinals, Mike.
Well, if his lines are plugged in the same day as Messina's on, we were assuming that he will start off opening day for the Cardinals with a reformed rotation for the Cardinals and La Russa.
Look at the guy down on the field. Bob Gibson has brought out the lineup card for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, here's the trade we talked about. I think, as just looking at this, that the Cardinals got the much better end of the deal.
It seems like it to me. Ken Bottenfield had a terrific year last year, but really that's a blip on the radar screen for his career. The rest of the year is sub 500 or so. And Adam Kennedy, a second baseman, and they figure they're going to sign Fernando Vina long term. So 2 people that may not have been in their plans and maybe at the highest value for a legitimate everyday center fielder, Gold Glover and Edmonds.
And it seems that when a player is in the final year of his contract, a little extra zing goes into the way he plays the game. And Edmonds plays the game pretty hard anyway.
Yeah, he has. And if anything, he's been a little bit of injury prone because of it.
Now, there's a guy that knew how to pitch the baseball, didn't he? Bob Gibson brought up the lineup card, now hands it back to Tony La Russa, and he receives a fine hand from the folks here in Jupiter, Florida.
Looks like he can still pitch to me.
Great shape. Well, the Cardinals have taken the field, and we're just moments away from baseball. And there is a fellow by the name of Andy Venice. Last year with Arizona, 13-12 with a disappointing 4.81 ERA. And Mike, he had an interesting situation. He basically bought himself out of the way of a long-term contract. He had another year to go, but in his contract it said if he didn't want to go that extra year, he didn't have to, and he became a free agent and came back with the Cards.
When I think actually when he originally left the Cardinals, he thought he had a long-term deal on the table. It didn't work out, got pulled from the table. But I think this is the place he's always wanted to pitch at, certainly in St. Louis. Notorious slow starter. An ERA this spring over 9, and last year ended up 13-12. But the second half 7-2. So he's another one of those guys that fall into second half pitchers.
Well, you know, we're going to have fun down here watching baseball, but some folks up north are having some fun. A special hello to, because HTS welcomes all our friends at the Orioles kickoff party going on right now at Padonia Station in Baltimore. We might be in the wrong place.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a pretty nice day here, though, too.
Yeah, that's true. I understand it's very nice in Baltimore today. Temperature in the upper 60s. And there's the Orioles skipper, Mike Hargrove. Orioles under 500, and for the past couple of games, Mike, they have not been hitting the baseball.
Yeah, and they've lost 3 straight. I think they've scored 1 run their last 18 innings. So, you know, he'd like to get the offense going, but still no panic on the part of Mike Hargrove. Something we've noticed all through the spring with the loss of Brady Anderson, the loss of B.J. Surhoff, the loss of Scott Erickson. You know, Mr. Hargrove just seems to work these losses at B pluses. It's given him a chance to see Kingsale in center field, to line on the Shields, played some. He likes the versatility of being able to move players around, and you know, the negative has turned into a positive.
I guess today we'll see Messina for about 5 innings, and then another very important outing for Al Reyes. We'll also see Mike Trombley and Mike Timlin. So 3 guys who are very key to the Orioles situation, and a guy who may be fighting for a spot on the on the staff.
Well, certainly, and talking to Al Reyes, just had a marvelous outing the other night. Threw 15 pitches, 13 strikes, and that's what they want to see out of Reyes.
Well, here's Delino. We talked about his day yesterday. One of the bright spots for the Orioles in the game yesterday against the Montreal Expos. And a foul back to the screen, and we're underway here in Jupiter. And we sit and watch this ball game behind the screen. Kind of an interesting view, not one you ordinarily get from a broadcast booth.
Yeah, you kind of look like we're looking out of an apartment window up here.
Strike 2 to the Shields, 0-2 to Delino. Delino showing bunt, and Tatis charging down from third base.
We're up in apartment 3B. Yeah. That's it right there.
The window's open. We can wave.
There it is.
Yeah. The 2-strike delivery from Bennis to the Shields. Just misses inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, a week from now, the Orioles will be here in Jupiter. They'll play the ball game and then break camp in Florida and head north to Atlanta and then Chattanooga. So the days are winding down for spring training. Delino strokes it to center field, and J.D. Drew comes in as the wind pushes the ball. It's out number 1. J.D. Drew will not be playing center field when Edmonds arrives. They expect Drew to move over to the left field spot, and Jim Edmonds will patrol center field as he did for the Angels.
Well, it's one thing they wanted to do also was to improve their team defense, and Eric Davis had some problems in right field and Drew in center field. So one way to upgrade, they've upgraded their pitching, and next you want to upgrade your defense to make that pitching feel good.
One fellow who's had a very good spring for the Orioles is at the plate right now, Rich Amaral, 10 for 32. No home runs, 4 runs driven in. First pitch from Andy Bennis, the 6'6" right-hander, for a ball 1. Outside, 2 balls and no strikes to Amaral. Of course, Rich Amaral didn't receive the number of at-bats last year that he anticipated, but when he played, he contributed.
Well, it's pretty hard when B.J. Surhoff played in all the games. Albert Bell missed 1 game.
And for Rich Amaral, his 11th hit of the spring.
I think there's no doubt that Rich Amaral is probably considered the 4th outfielder. And most teams will take 5. There's some talk in the Oriole camp of going with 4 because of Conant's versatility. So what Rich Amaral does, just gets the bat head to the ball right back up the middle. That's his plan.
Well, you hear people talk about staying within yourself, and that's what Amaral does. He knows he's not a power hitter, and he just tries to make contact.
Well, I've been trying to stay within myself this spring, but the restaurants have been a little good.
Right.
I think I've expanded within myself.
BJ is back in the lineup in left field after a couple of times DHing because of that elbow. Yesterday played left field. 1 ball, no strike. Surhoff, 9 hits in 27 trips. You see the 1 round tripper and 5 runs driven in for the Orioles left fielder. 2 balls and no strikes. And Bennis's last start, it was Saturday against the Expos. He did a very good job. In fact, his best outing of the springtime. Only allowed a couple of hits, a couple of walks, 5 strikeouts. So he's getting himself ready for that opening day.
Well, a lot of pitchers come to camp with the idea, I'm going to work on a new pitch or maybe a slide step or a better curveball. And so for the first couple of starts, that's sort of the plan. But now as you get to probably halfway through the camp, or at least 3 weeks to go, you start honing more your game skills.
Bennis last year gave up a career-high 34 home runs pitching for the Diamondbacks. Here's a strike, 3-1 now to BJ. And a lot of scouts say that even though he throws still in the low 90s, he's lost a lot of movement on that fastball.
It's a very smooth delivery for a big man. He's always been considered, you know, probably a number 2, number 3 starter. Actually, with the addition of Pat Henkin and Darryl Kyle, who has had a terrific spring. All the starters have for the Cardinals. And I think part of that deal with Bottenfield, too, was ex-Oriole Garrett Stevenson having a very impressive spring training. Make a spot for Stevenson. Again, you want to move players when they're at the top of their value. I felt Bottenfield was maybe up there.
Amaral going with a pitch, a fly ball to Dunston, who handles it. And 2 Orioles are retired here in this top of the first inning. Now, Amaral was off and running, and he's been doing that a lot this spring. Amaral has attempted 5 steals this spring and been successful 4 times. So despite the fact he's in the approaching the 40-year-old mark, not quite there yet, he still has the wheels.
Well, he's sneaky. You know, he's not one of those guys that sort of lowers you to sleep, gets a nice walking lead, and if you don't pay attention, he has still a great first step.
Albert Bell batting in the cleanup spot. Ground ball to the shortstop. Renteria will go to second base wide, but a nice reach by Polanco. And that's it for the Orioles in the top of the first in Jupiter. We go to the bottom of the first inning. Mike Messina coming to the mound. We're scoreless. Well, the Cardinals come to bat in the bottom of the first against Mike Messina. Here's their lineup. Placido Polanco, the second baseman, then Edgar Renteria at shortstop. Mark McGwire, who's homered in 3 consecutive games at first base, batting number 3. Sean Dunston, left fielder in the cleanup spot. Old friend Eric Davis is in right field, batting in the number 5 hole. J.D. Drew, the center fielder. Fernando Tatis, the third baseman. Rick Wilkins behind the plate catching, and Andy Bennis on the mound. Now, defensively for the Orioles, Charles Johnson doing the catching. Jeff Conine playing at first base today, back in the field. Delino DeShields at second base. Jesus Garcia, the shortstop. Cal Ripken at third. In the outfield from left to right, B.J. Surhoff, Rich Amaral, and Albert Bell. So Polanco will come up against Mike Messina, and Mike Messina's had, as usual, an excellent spring.
Yeah, he's just one of those pitchers that when he finds his groove, he's able to hold it. And it can't always be said for some of the younger players. They'll keep it for a couple of starts. But once Messina finds it, he is one of the best I've ever seen of maintaining that groove. And you can see his spring numbers right there. Coming off a year where he won 18 games, actually had his highest voting or placement in the Cy Young voting. Finished second to Pedro Martinez.
This is only Mike's 3rd actual game, but of course Sunday's game washed out in Fort Lauderdale. A big disappointment for more than 8,000 folks. It was supposed to be Pedro Martinez coming over from Fort Myers with the Red Sox, and Mike on the hill for the Orioles. They forgot to cover the field in the rainstorm. Yeah,
minor faux pas. The Moose threw 5 innings simulated down under the tunnels in left field.
One strike Stadium. Now tell me, he threw a simulated game. Is that still really you get your actual? Yeah,
you're missing the adrenaline factor, but I told him if he keeps it up, he's going to make the simulated All-Star team, which is a really good thing to do. I made a couple of those on rehab.
Polanco, right-handed batting infielder, takes it outside. He's having a pretty good spring. He's been up 38 times, 17 hits, 5 runs driven in, no home runs. Last year, playing spot duty for Tony La Russa at 277. 2-2 now. So from 0-2, we go to an even count. Pitch in the dirt. Mike Messina, as he approaches the regular season, he has one more start down here, Mike. Is he pitching as if he were pitching in a regular season game, or is he still experimenting?
At this point, no. He's found the groove. I mean, many springs will come down and you find it right away and just try to hold on to it. Other years, you don't find it till the last day in Florida. And he found it, I would say, about 10 days ago.
Conine will watch that one go foul.
And once he locks it in again, his delivery is so clean and so easy to maintain is the reason he's able to repeat pitches. Really, the difference between what separates Messina from the rest is he's able to repeat, or his percentage of quality pitches is higher than anybody else's.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Placido Polanco. Albert Bell, the right fielder, has a long run, and it's a foul ball. Albert going deep into that corner. We lost sight of him, but we saw the ball kick foul. So instead of extra bases, it's just a long foul for Polanco. You were his. Let's watch Albert trying to chase that one down, but the breeze kind of pushed that one away from him.
Not by foul, but by much. You can see how close it hit to that foul line.
What's it like being a pitching coach for Mike Messina?
Easy. Most times you don't have to say a thing to him. He's a He's like a Ferrari to me. You know, when a Ferrari's engine is running smoothly, all the cylinders and pistons are working together, a thing of beauty. And Messina needs all those things to be working because he's not that big of a guy. Moose is only, 5'11" or so, about 170 pounds.
2-2 pitch.
So he needs to have things in perfect sync where, someone much taller or bigger can throw the ball hard by not being able to do it. But Moose's mechanics, his balance, the load, you see he lands firmly on that front foot and all that energy going right towards home plate.
So in other words, you're kind of a hands-off guy when you're the pitching coach.
Well, what it is you can bring young pitchers down. You can tell Matt Riley to go watch Messina pitch. Watch how he warms up. Watch how he works the corners. And if anything, the one thing Moose has had to hold himself back is really his legs have felt so strong this spring that he's been jumping out a little bit early at times, and that brings the ball up. But it's from feeling too good. It's not from feeling poorly.
Now, Polanco's on at first base with that single right back through the middle, and Edgar Renteria will stand in. Renteria was the leadoff man mostly last year in the lineup for Tony La Russa, but really not suited for that role. This spring, just 13 hits and 44 trips. He's down and away. 1 ball and no strikes to Renteria, former Florida Marlin. Pretty good glove man is Renteria.
Real long look down to the third base coach, Renteria.
Jose Oquendo is the third base coach for the Cardinals. 1 ball and 1 strike.
So again, Moose just being a little quick to the plate. The ball's up about 6 inches higher than he would like, but the velocity's so good this spring. As this game goes on, you'll watch he'll lower that pitch about 6-8 inches. And what he uses as his barometer of locking in his delivery is usually low and away fastball to a right-handed hitter. That's his zone where he wants to be highly accurate.
Looked like it hit off the glove of the leaping second baseman DeShields. Runners at first and third for the Cardinals. Well, it was a well-stroked ball. DeShields climbed the ladder looking like a guy going after a rebound. Delino, former outstanding basketball player, but couldn't come down with it. Runners at first and third for the Cards.
Just out of the reach of DeShields.
And guess who comes up?
It's almost the same situation that Messina faced in the last All-Star game. Except in that situation, had runners on second and third. Came on and struck out Sosa and then McGuire to end the inning on nothing but low and away fastballs.
Well, McGuire has homered in 3 straight games. He has 4 home runs and 16 runs driven in the spring. And he's late with that one.
And that's the spot Messina wants to hone in on. That was just a perfect execution of a pitch. This is what you try to tell young players. It was like in yesterday's game with Guerrero. You want to use your highest accuracy pitch against a hitter like McGuire, because any mistake, you get him to hit it on the ground, but unfortunately the first hop's 540 feet from the plate.
It's out of play.
So again, same plan as the All-Star game. Your highest percentage pitch to throw in a location is your fastball. Here's a guy you don't want to make mistakes. I say, boy, he's really challenging him with his fastball. No, he's challenging him with his accuracy. Now that he's ahead, you'll watch. It's almost predictable to me. You watch Charles Johnson. He'll go sit on that outside corner and he'll play blacker ball with this pitch. He may use a cutter, but he's going to use a highly accurate pitch.
Now let's watch.
And that's just sound pitching. And I went through the same exercise with one of the young pitchers the other day where they threw, I think it was Guerrero at the curveball. It was actually Sidney Ponzon with a cut slider. You see, he's aiming for that outside corner, and what he says to himself is, this is one of the greatest home run hitters of all time. It's going to be a block or it's going to be a ball. I'm not going to get hurt. It's going to be ball 1. It's not going to be over the fence.
Yeah, ball 2 now, then down and away.
Because to me, when you throw your curveball, what's the average curveball you get over the plate? Maybe 50% of the time. So why would you want to throw that? I only get it over 50% of the time. Chance to hang it, slide it the same, change it the same. So when I hear like McGuire, I don't want to make a mistake. So that's why you'll probably see mostly fastballs to McGuire.
Albert Bell will have to play the wind on this one. Albert's still on the run. He makes the grab, tagging from third, coming to the plate. Albert Bell with a strong arm, 1 hop throw. And that's the first out of the inning. Well, Albert, with the assist last year in right field, his arm, he has a strong arm. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, the players refer to Albert, I think, and they tease him. They call him the bazooka. It's like he loads up the back of that bazooka, and then it's like almost pull. But a very accurate and strong arm, and he's worked hard on it.
Now Polanco watching.
Yeah, nobody out. You don't want to take a chance on a medium deep fly ball. Same ball hit this time, he'll go.
And Dunston comes up. Sean Dunston, 1 home run, 4 driven in, as you see, and Dunston, a guy that will probably be the 4th outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. Brian McRae had been fighting for a job, but now with the acquisition of Edmonds, McRae's future looks very limited here with the Cardinals. 1 ball, no strikes. Dunston last year with the Cardinals and the New York Mets. Now fighting for a spot on the roster. Looks like he's made it with the Cardinals. Lots of people expect good things out of the St. Louis Ball Club this year with the addition of the pitching that they have.
They certainly have to feel good on paper, I think, going into the season. What he's seen his assets is how well he holds runners on. And the key here is to keep that runner at first base, double play in order. By doing that, 1 quality pitch, throwing the sinker, get it, hit it on the ground, you're out of this inning. So Messina will pay a little bit extra attention to the runner at first.
Garcia and DeShields and double play that.
And like I said, it'd be interesting. Certainly Tony La Russa familiar with Messina if he doesn't put the runner in motion.
Blocked by Johnson that time. 2 balls and 1 strike. Eric Davis would be next for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Charles Johnson, one of the top defensive catchers in the game. I would rate him number 2 behind Ivan Rodriguez.
Well, Terry Crowley refers to Ivan Rodriguez as the freak. He said there's just nobody else like him in the world, so you just eliminate him.
Yeah.
He's just, so far above everyone else. Interesting count here, Fred. 2-1. Pretty good running count.
But no action on the base pad. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Dunston. You can hear that wind, and it could play some tricks, as we've seen with fly balls. Balls up in the air would not be a piece of cake for anybody out there.
Well, certainly after a month of games in Florida, you certainly are used to the high sky we refer to a lot, and certainly the playing in the wind.
Mm-hmm. It's a foul ball. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now tomorrow the Orioles will be back in Fort Lauderdale. It'll be a split squad day. Most of the Orioles will be going against the Dodgers in Fort Lauderdale. And we'll have that one on HTS tomorrow. See Davey Johnson, good old friend, and those Dodgers who have to rebound big. Because you hear a lot of talk, at least read about it on the internet, that some people may be in precarious positions in that Dodger organization.
No question. I heard talk about Kevin Malone, and certainly Davey Johnson's name's coming up a few times.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Runners at first and third, 1 out. And Dunston, with a good at-bat, keeps fouling them back.
It's that at-bat he had with the Mets last year in the postseason, right? Was that 15 pitches leading off the 15th inning, something like that?
Now, speaking of the Mets, they're probably about on their way to Tokyo from the city of Chicago today, heading a 14-hour flight.
Well, I guess it's a long trip. When you leave, it's Friday, and you get there and it's Thursday.
Yeah. 2-2 pitch. Bell will make the catch. Here comes the runner. Here comes Bell's throw. It's up the line. It's 1-0 Cardinals.
Well, like we said, similar ball. You're going to go with 1 out. No outs, you wouldn't chance it. Quality at bat from Dunston.
And Dunston, after the foul balls, got it up in the air.
Loads up the bazooka again. This one a little bit up the line.
So 1-0 St. Louis with 2 down. And Eric Davis, he's back in the lineup for the Cardinals. They played his first game yesterday, went 1 for 4. Remember, Eric signed the 2-year deal with the Cardinals last year, and then went down at the end of June with a shoulder problem, had surgery in the offseason, and is just returning. There goes the runner Dunston to second base. The throw by Charles Johnson out of time. I said Dunston. It's actually Renteria who went into second base.
Well, try to get another runner in scoring position with 2 outs. He was just guessing. You won't see that happen too many times to Messina. I think only 9 runners tried to run against Moose last year. Again, in spring training. I'm not sure they'd do that regular season.
The 1-0 delivery to Eric. 2 balls and no strikes. Eric Davis last year, in his brief time before the injury, drove in 30 runs for Tony La Russa, 5 homers, 257 with the average. But that's been the story of Eric Davis's career. A guy that, when he came up, had unlimited potential, and of course is an outstanding ball player. But it always seemed those injuries would come, and as he has gotten older, of course, the situation in Baltimore with the cancer, and then the shoulder with the Cardinals, is a swing and a miss. That's an Eric Davis swing.
Messina showing a little bit of frustration with the mound. Here he hasn't got settled in yet. Mound is always a major adjustment with a classic, as Eric Davis refers to it, violent swing I have. Just sort of uncoils.
He's going to pitch on the inside portion of the plate for strike 2. Orioles trailing 1-0. Bottom of the first inning. We're at Roger Dean Stadium, a beautiful complex shared by both the Cardinals and the Montreal Expos. Lots of fields for the minor leaguers, get your work done, and a very nice facility to play your regular games. 2-2, 2 out. Runner at second base, Renteria. That's a strike 3 call. Davis doesn't like it. Messina does, and that's it for the Cardinals. Come up with a run. As we watch Mike Messina get Davis to end the inning. We go to the top of the second. St. Louis 1, Orioles nothing. Al Ripken, number 8 baseball. 1-0 St. Louis Cardinals leading. And Sid Thrift has joined us in the broadcast booth. Orioles vice president in charge of baseball operations, as Cal Ripken will lead off for the Orioles against Andy Bennis. And Cal takes the first pitch down and away. Cal 6 for 39 this spring, continuing to work hard, trying to get the stroke back at righty against righty. And Sid Thrift, what a lovely complex we have here in Jupiter, Florida.
Today, a nice pregame sprinkle, got everybody refreshed.
Yeah, took some humidity out.
Hat wet. My $1.98 special.
Sid, wouldn't this be the ideal type of a situation for the Orioles to have a springtime?
Wow, we'd think we'd died and gone to heaven.
Pitch to Cal.
I just talked to my friends down there in the booth, box, I mean, but they complimented them on their aggressive trade.
Oh, yeah, the Edmonds deal. Were you surprised that came down when it did?
Well, I'm always surprised, you know, when you trade an 18-game winner. But they got a top-notch center fielder.
And Cal Ripken with a base hit, Cal's 7th of the spring. So Edmonds comes over here, and Bottenfield goes to Anaheim.
Right.
The way Mike and I, when we were talking about the trade, look at it, it's really a good deal for the St. Louis Cardinals, because Bottenfield, of course, has been kind of a journeyman pitcher until last year.
Right. Well, you know, even if he has another good year, it's still a good trade for both teams. I think that the one thing for sure, the center fielder plays every day. And I think the Cardinals have helped themselves probably more than any team in the National League, and I'm including the Dodgers with their acquisition, because they fill 2 critical positions at second base and center field. Now they have an outstanding middle defense. That's really critical. All the pitchers get better now.
Last year, Jeff Conine acquired by the Orioles just before the start of the season. Here he is at the plate. Can we anticipate anything between now and opening day with you pulling the strings?
Well, you know, I think that the GM over at Anaheim summed it up pretty good. He says when they all make sense, they all work, and so far we haven't been able to find one that really made sense.
Okay.
But that we're still working every day, every night, trying to find one that makes sense.
I think the bottom line is you're always looking. It's not like there's a time that you're not.
No, they know, and we have conversations with people who are in the process of moving players. At the present time, it's nothing really big because everybody's confronted with roster problem. Free agents that have to be on rosters by such a time. It's a lot of things going on in the next few days.
So we could just stand by for action, possibly. Huh?
Well, I'm always ready, willing, and able.
2-2 pitch to Conine. 3 balls, 2 strikes. We're visiting with Sid Thrift, and Sid, I know we've talked in the past about Fort Lauderdale and the spring training home for the Orioles. I know you're always searching to find that perfect spot. Can we see it maybe in the near future?
I believe so. I think that John Angelos and Joe Foss, a number of people have been working on this project now going on 6 years. And I believe right now we're further ahead than we have been any time since I've been here. But it still takes a commitment, a local commitment from the people who own the land, the local governmental agencies to make a commitment for bond issues. And there's a lot of things that have to happen to make it work. And so therefore, we have to get to step 1 first. Now we've been looking. Now the next thing is somebody's got to make a commitment.
Now we hear rumors about Las Vegas that they're very interested in attracting big league ball clubs. Where does that stand?
Well, I'm not sure. I know this much, that it appears that they really are serious in their quest to obtain teams. If they obtain 4 teams, for example, as their plan, it'll have a major impact on all of baseball, because for them to have 4 new teams, somebody has to leave somewhere. And if you had 4 teams in any given area, you'd have enough to have a real great time in spring training, playing against each other. You wouldn't have to travel all up and down highways. You get more work done. You get more fundamental things accomplished, because I don't think people really realize how much time is spent in detail of repetition for fundamentals over and over and over again. And I think that we really suffer from that, because we don't have enough of our players in enough positions, enough places at the right time to do the number of things that we need to do.
Charles Johnson sends one high in the air to the right side of the infield. Second baseman Polanco calls off McGuire and crosses in the foul ground to make the catch. Runners at first and second for the Orioles, 1 out. We're visiting with Sid Thrift. Sid, as you look at this ball club that you've acquired guys over the winter months, you're kind of putting the pieces together. Are you satisfied with what the Orioles will be headed north for opening day with?
Well, I just hope that by the time we head north, that all of our regular position players and pitchers are physically sound. We've been playing with parts and bits and pieces, and in a way that's been good, because a lot of the young players have had a chance to play, and we've had things like the flu that derailed us for 5 days, and 5 days is a lot of time in spring training. You know, it really is more than normal life. And so we really had a nick here and a frozen leg with Brady. So we've had all kinds of strange things, but nothing major. And I think that we'll know a lot in the next week to 10 days, and that's what I'm hoping for.
It just seems like Mike Hargrove has handled that so well. Well, if we're missing Brady, it gives us a chance to try the Shields out there. And so he seems to look at it as a silver lining in a way. Obviously, he wants to know he's going to have those players for around opening day.
Yeah, but you think about the Shields, how well he performed in center field. That really gives you a new dimension for Delano, because he's a very talented athlete, and you can see his running speed much more evident in the outfield.
It seems like versatility with DeShields and with Jeff Conine. You can plug those guys in. Conine in the outfield, first base, of course, third base now.
Yeah.
And of course, that's what you look for in guys who are players that will contribute to the ball club.
I think Mike Hargrove, as Mike has said, has done a tremendous job in getting these players, and they've been willing to try these new ideas and new experiments. And I think that's really a big plus.
I guess the other major question this time of the spring is usually 12 pitchers or 11 pitchers.
Yeah, we're still talking about
I know, it's a good, every year it goes down to
12 or 11 or 12. But the main thing I think we've decided is the most important thing is to have the ones that are not on the Major League club pitching in Rochester or somewhere so they can stay sharp. I think that's really important.
Now with Calvin Maduro, no options left. That
Right.
kind of dictates action somewhere.
Yes, but there are also possibilities with other players, and I'd rather not get into that now because I don't want them to be.
Come on.
But I don't want somebody to think they might get sent out when they may not, because you know how players are, Mike. They don't need to hear anything negative this time of year.
No.
I think we got to remain positive because time will be our ally, and we'll all know it'll all fall into place, and I'm sure the players will be in accord if it makes sense. I've never found a baseball player yet that didn't respect good judgment or a good reason to do something that made sense to them.
Jesus Garcia at the plate. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Ripken is at second base. Conine is at first. Orioles down by a run, 1-0. Top of the second in Jupiter, Florida. Visiting with Sid Thrift. There go the runners. Garcia off the glove of the third baseman. Ripken will round third. He'll tie the ball game. Going to third base is Conine. The throw, he is in there. And Jesus Garcia delivers again. Garcia with his 9th RBI this spring.
You know what? We practiced so much in drill 2-strike hitting over and over and over in the minor leagues. And now I think the players are beginning to see the benefit of making contact with 2 strikes.
He just looks so much more relaxed at the plate than I remembered from last year. Maybe it's just the fact that Jesus Garcia hits much better than Jesse Garcia.
Hey, great. Touche, Mike.
That's one of those players to be named later. That's fine with me.
Now here's a guy that can handle himself at the plate, and Mike Messina, a guy who loves to get his at-bats. He takes the first pitch for a strike.
Nothing but line drives and batting practice today. Watch Moose. Says this batting practice is overrated. Just walk up there and try to hit a line drive over shortstop's head.
Yeah, ask the Braves about his hitting and his RBI production. First base side bunt, but foul. So 0-2 now to Messina. We have it tied at 1-1 in the top of the second inning. Visiting with Sid Thrift. Sid, over the winter months, you acquired a backup catcher by the name of Greg Myers. I think he's going to make a big difference, not only in his ability to catch, but giving Charles Johnson those days off, so critical for Charles.
Yeah, plus he also helps our pitching staff because he's a very knowledgeable catcher. He knows the game. He knows how to call a game. He gives you a new dimension, I think, that's necessary for a winning baseball team.
Messina at the plate. Garcia's at first base. Conine at third. 1 out. There goes Garcia. It's low, and Garcia will go into second base without drawing the throw. So the Orioles now with 2 runners in scoring position. Got Garcia at second, Conine at third, and Mike Messina with a base hit here would have a big smile on his face, and he'd have the lead.
See, I used to look down on these situations to Cal Ripken Sr. at third base and just made believe I didn't see the signs and swing away.
Right.
Just plead insanity.
Infield is in for the Cardinals. And there's a strikeout. Second out of the inning. So do you anticipate a lot of action, maybe not on the Orioles' part, but in baseball in general this final week before we start the season?
I think you'll see a lot of different moves. I think players will be claimed on waivers. I think players will be designated for assignment. Players will be acquired. I don't have any major things, but you never can tell about that either. It's totally unpredictable.
How many teams do you think have roster problems? I mean, is there a way of knowing that?
Oh, yeah, we have the printed rosters every day, and practically every team is at 40. But one thing about that is, if you find someone you think is good for now and in the future, you can designate someone off that roster and see if someone will. Then you have 10 days to make a deal, or otherwise you can. If no one claims them, you can send them out right to the AAA club.
Right.
Delino to Shields with a 2-ball, no strike count. Garcia at second, Conine at third. 3-0. Now tomorrow, you'll be up here watching a pitcher, Worrell, who's pitched very well this spring.
Yes.
And I think here comes a trade coming up right now. The Angels calling. See what's going on.
Here, guys.
Sid's getting a phone call on the air.
Up to minute.
And there's a walk to Delino to Shields.
This is called the art of a deal.
The Shields is at first base to load the bases. As Dave Duncan, the pitching coach for the St. Louis Cardinals, goes out to the mound. And Dave Duncan is like the right arm of Tony La Russa. Where Tony goes, Duncan goes.
That's true. They've been together certainly a long period of time. Dave Duncan was one of my first catchers in the big leagues, and probably one of the few pitching coaches that wasn't a pitcher. But he has certainly found a home with La Russa's, had a lot of success over the years with a number of different staffs, and it certainly has been Tony's right-hand man.
Now, last year, La Russa encountered something that he really hasn't during his career. That he received some criticism in St. Louis, and there was some thought that he might not return as the manager of the Cardinals, but indeed he's back.
Yeah, the first time in a long time, started feeling some heat come late September, but a rash of injuries last year and a lot of moves in the winter.
Well, Sid has the headset on. What trade was made, Sid? Anything that we should be... Well, Sid is ready to talk to us now.
Am I on?
Oh,
now?
you're on.
I'm on now. Good. I'm glad I got shut off.
See, we even cut it off.
That's great, man. That was so confidential. Even some of my erudite writer friends couldn't hear that.
Now
we're working on lip reading. They're working on lip reading.
Well, I think.
Would you have to bring home some milk and bread? Or
Well, no. What we were doing right there is we know the physical ability of this certain player, but we were trying to check on the intangibles. You know, what's he really off? What's he like off the field? How's he fit in the clubhouse? Because I really like to see what a player in my mind will look like in the clubhouse, because that's so critical. It sometimes is overlooked. We don't need the disruptions.
Rich Amaral at the plate, a single his first at bat. Bases loaded for the Orioles. 1-1 ball game. Two tights, Amaral, 2 balls and 1 strike. Visiting with Sid Thrift, who received a phone call in the middle of our conversation.
And both
From one of my top scouts who do some research for us.
2-1. Bases jammed for the Orioles. Now even 2-2. Quickly, Brady Anderson, a couple of good days over on the West Coast. Is he over there today doing the same thing?
No, he's home working out at Fort Lauderdale. But he's had 2 days. I think he went to bat 12 times or something like that yesterday. 11 times. And he's probably working at 7-11. He's probably 7 for 11. No, I just made it up. I think Steckers gave me a sign 6 for 11, so he doesn't qualify for the 7-11 team yet. But
he went 8 for 7, right, Bill?
He went 8 for 7.
Right, that's a pretty good day.
That's a pretty good day. But he's coming along fine.
Well, that's encouraging news, because at times Brady didn't know whether he'd be ready for opening day, but that was the quotes that we saw in the paper. Bases loaded, bouncer toward shortstop. Charging is Renteria, fields, throws. He gets Amaral to end the inning. Orioles lead 3, but score a run. Sid, thank you very much for being with us. Always a pleasure to see you. We've played 1.5 in Jupiter. Orioles 1, Cardinals 1.
Staff and how they wanted to be handled in a league that he knew nothing about. So look for him to be much better in all those 6 scenarios. And I actually enjoyed our conversation before the game, because yesterday before the game we had talked about, well, how are you going to work Vladimir Guerrero? And he said, I've seen him hit him over his head and on a hop. And he couldn't wait to run up to us today and say, see, one was over his head and one was practically on a hop.
3-2 to Wilkins with 2 gone. It's a ball 4. So Messina issues his first free pass. It comes with 2 out here in the bottom of the 2nd. And pitcher Andy Bennis will come up. The Cardinals scored a run in the bottom of the 1st. And they scored on a couple of base hits and then a sacrifice fly getting in the run. The Orioles, with Jesus Garcia driving in his 9th run of the spring, tied it in the top of the 2nd against Bennis. Now Bennis comes up with 2 outs.
A pretty good hitting pitcher. Has 6 career home runs.
He's a big guy, 6'6", 245 pounds. 32 years of age. Of course, Charles Johnson knows about Andy Bennis. He saw him when Charles was catching for the Florida Marlins and, of course, the Dodgers. And Bennis has been a National Leaguer. Bennis has been with San Diego, the Cardinals, the 2nd go-round with the Cards. He's also been with Seattle and, of course, last year with Arizona.
Not just his one brief stint in the American League was the Mariners in '95.
Ball and 1 strike.
And then he went back to the Cardinals in '96 and won 18-10. He's pitched in 1 All-Star game back in 1993. He was with the Padres, went 15-15 that year.
Here's a strike on the outside portion of the plate. 1-2 to Bennis. And the talk was that Mike Messina would go 5, possibly 6 innings today. Been a little bit more pitch efficient in this second inning of work than that first when he threw 28 pitches.
Well, I'm sure he's with the walk. Probably in the 40s.
And that's it. Third strikeout of the ball game, and the third out of the inning. We go down to the top of the third here in Jupiter, Florida. It's the Orioles 1 and the Cardinals 1. My friend Mike Flanagan in Florida. A week from today, the Orioles will be here in Jupiter to play the St. Louis Ball Club, and then immediately following that game, they will head to Atlanta for a game Friday night, and then a game Saturday afternoon in Chattanooga, Tennessee against Junior and the Cincinnati Reds. An off day and a workout for the team on Sunday, and opening day April 3rd at Camden Yards. And here's a rite of springtime where the kids leaning over, talking to some Orioles in the bullpen. There's Elrod Hendricks. He's got the pen out. He's autographing paper, baseball, whatever Elrod gets. Now he says, right, we're ready to play. Take it back.
Well, I think, that's the great thing about spring training in Florida. The fields are really fan-friendly to the players. Laid-back atmosphere. Not quite the restraints you have on at Major League ballparks during the summertime. So it's kind of a festive atmosphere, and you get to see National League teams against American League teams. It's always been a lot of fun.
Surhoff sends it high into right center. Eric Davis comes over and makes the easy grab for the first out here in the top of the third. Of course, the other night at Port St. Lucie, after that quick ball game, Orioles losing to the Mets that night, but Cal Ripken, who left with 2 innings to go, he stayed out way after the ball game, autographing for fans and giving them the opportunity to meet Cal Ripken. And you really do that when you get an autograph from Cal, because he'll sit and converse with you.
Oh, sure. He doesn't do it like he's in a hurry. I think I told you the next morning I was at the park at 7 o'clock. I don't think we got back to 12:30, something like that. And he was already in uniform at 7 a.m. waiting on Terry Crowley to go out and work in the cage. So he's always been an extremely hard worker.
1 strike to Albert Bell. 1-1 now to the Orioles right fielder. Albert so far this spring in 43 trips. A couple of home runs, 10 hits overall. You were talking yesterday, and
first season with the team, my first year with the White Sox, 30 home runs, 116. Look at the second year, 152 RBIs. Let's take a look at it. Second season, 49 home runs, 152 RBIs. First season with the Orioles, 37, 117, even a little better than the first year with the White Sox.
Dunston will run it down before it gets up the gap, and Albert Bell is on with a base hit with 1 out.
And I think that's why there's so much room for optimism for the Orioles, is that they figure Albert Bell is going to have a better season. We talk about this swing starting together right here. Here's a slider from Bennis. Stays in the middle of the plate. Albert right on it. We just got through talking about Charles Johnson, second year in the league, second year with the club. You figure he's going to have a better year. Another year under the belt for Ponzone. He's going to be better. Jason Johnson, the same optimism. So that's the reason this camp has been very positive.
Cal Ripken singled his only trip today. And Cal putting in, as Mike has said, those extra hours with the Crow, Terry Crowley in the cage, as Cal still fighting, I guess, more mental than physical concerning the back surgery.
You have to learn to let go mentally. What can I withstand? Can I take day game after night game? Can I slide and get right up and go? If it's a long inning, do I need to get up and move around? All these things. Sort of a new program for Cal.
That's been an interesting 3 days for Cal, because he had the game up in Port St. Lucie the other night, was in action yesterday in the starting lineup, and then again today. And I kind of figured maybe he wouldn't make the trip.
Yes, those are little tests, and he just wants to see if he's capable of doing that. And with each hurdle he jumps over, he lets it go, and he knows, well, I can take that.
Dunston will be on the run, but he runs out of room as it's just behind the Orioles bullpen area.
Like he said, I know my instincts are going to take over when opening day comes, and then you need to go down there and break up a double play. I'm going to do that, and I want that to be reactionary.
There's the magic number for Cal this year. just 9 hits shy of the 3,000 hit mark. And lots of folks are anticipating that coming in the first Orioles homestand.
Well, if he has a day like he had in Atlanta, it could be the second day of the season.
That's what I was asking.
2-1 to Ripken. And that's out of the strike zone. 3 balls and 1 strike. Heard some reaction. Tommy Davis, who made the catch on the rebound of that foul ball, I guess was playing some games with the folks out there.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy, one of the guys who will probably be headed to Rochester. There he is. Tommy, a guy that's learning the craft of catching, can also play first and third base, some outfield for you. 3 balls and 1 strike to Ripken. Bell draws the throw. And before long, that Rochester team will be formulated for Marv Foley. He'll know what he has, and the Orioles will know what they have in reserve at their AAA level.
I think he's going to have a pretty good rotation.
Dunston will get over there, and that's the second out of the inning. Cal stroked it well, though. And right now, a lot of times, that's what a guy's looking for. What kind of contact?
It's feel. They just want to have quality at bats. Here's one. And here, see, Cal's stance a lot more quiet than we saw early in the spring. He had an exaggerated crouch. There's so many other factors here in the spring, and the wind, and that you're not going to have to deal with when you go north.
Jeff Conine watches the first one inside. That crouch that Cal was in at the start of spring training, I likened it to Ricky Henderson almost, because he was down low with the elbows almost touching the knees, but he's kind of elevated his stance a little bit.
He's got that distance in half.
Conine watches strike one. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jeff Conine had hoped to see a lot of action at third base early in spring training, but the flu and the shoulder problem cost him, and it was playing third base that cost him the shoulder problem, because it's a different throw you make than the one you do at first or from the outfield. Here's strike 2 to Conine.
It is, and that's why a player that's going to be a utility player play the infield and outfield. I think we saw it when we saw the Shields go to the outfield. That's an infielder's throw from center field. That short arm, quick release. And third base is right in between it. Really a first baseman's throw and an outfielder's throw. Well, those are 2 entirely different. When you go over to third, you want a shorter arm swing, but yet throw it hard as you can.
Well, there's one hard as it can go into left field, and Conine will stop at second base. Bell at third, and the Orioles with 2 down have 2 runners in scoring position. Conine at second, Albert Bell at third base, and Charles Johnson coming up. You know, Conine did a very good job last year with the injuries to Will Clark, and that's one thing you expect out of Jeff Conine, getting the bat on the ball and making good contact.
When he first came over, actually they thought he was taking too many pitches, and I think one word from Terry Crowley, like, let it fly, don't wait. And he never looked back. I mean, he really lets it fly. He was the best pinch hitter in the American League last year also. He hit .360, couple of home runs, 9 RBIs out of that slot. So he can, I think he's a better defensive first baseman than I think any of us thought. And he did a nice job in left field. Now they're talking third base. That's a very valuable commodity that they have in Conine.
Andy Bennis comes to the plate to Charles Johnson. And that's foul. 0-2 now to the Oriole catcher.
And they made that deal. They were just hoping for a right-handed pinch hitter off the bench, and he's been much more than that.
The Orioles making a couple of late deals last year that turned out to be good ones. The Conine deal with Kansas City, and of course the Jason Johnson deal from Tampa Bay.
Sure.
That's why I was trying to get something out of Sid there.
Yeah.
Continuing to.
We tried to even listen in on the phone.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give it up.
Well, I'm sure, as he pointed out and you pointed out, those conversations continue. You're always probing, always asking, because you never know.
Well, you know, it really is. If when you're asking the question, is there anything? Are we out there looking for anything? They're constantly out there looking, constantly in touch with ball clubs. It's one way to judge value, or a team that's maybe that they're not as high on them as you are. And is a way of finding out value of your own players. Well, let's talk about some names. Would you take this, and what would that take to get done, and who's untouchable, and who just has no chance of making a deal for?
I mentioned the name Tim Worrell to Sid, and then the phone call came. But the reason why I was doing that, because Tim Worrell has that date of March 27th.
Yeah.
And if he's not going to be with the ball club, if he's not on the roster by then, he can become a free agent. And he's had a pretty good spring.
He's had a terrific. He makes it difficult. That's why when we asked Sid 11 or 12 pitchers, I said we're still, hashing that out. If it's 12, that maybe you can't take Derek May or Wayne Kirby, and if it's 11, maybe you can. What's more important the first week of the season? Do I need a left-handed hitter off the bench? Am I going to need a guy who can play the outfield? Maybe if Freddie Anderson can't go. So all these things are factored into one decision.
Renteria, the shortstop, shading his eyes from the sun, makes the grab, and the Orioles strand runners at second and third. Bottom of the third, we swing in Jupiter, Florida. Orioles 1, Cardinals 1. I invite you to make your plans now to be at the Yard on Friday, April 7th for Orioles Magnet Schedule Night. Every fan attending the 7:05 Orioles-Tigers game will receive a free 2,000 Orioles Magnet Schedule, courtesy of Southwest Airlines. Get your tickets now. Call 1-888-848-BIRD or visit the Orioles online at www.theorioles.com. Mike, I saw a note in the paper today that there's some interest by the Tigers in Ricky Henderson of the New York Mets. They're talking about possibly a Henderson-Higginson deal. Bobby Higginson going to the New Yorkers. I'm surprised to see that.
Well, his certainly stats and his value to the Mets, on paper and what he does for the top of anybody's lineup is certainly a terrific deal. But I think he's sort of developed into a clubhouse problem. With the deal about his not picking up his option, he thought he had the right to, and at times that can get in the way, and actually internally in your clubhouse is more important sometimes than the other stuff's going on in the field.
And of course, playing cards while your team is out on the field playing doesn't help.
Yeah, that's really a no-no, and so it just appears that Henderson's name is going to be out there, and he's a valuable commodity still.
Polanco is up, and he takes the first pitch outside. He singled and scored the only Cardinals run, that in the first inning. He scored on the sacrifice fly off the bat of Dunston.
I'm going to go back to that. If I could do Henderson for Higginson, I'd do it ASAP.
Of course, the Mets looking for a left-handed bat. And the respected John Olerud signed with the Seattle Mariners, and Bobby Higginson can provide some power.
Well, and he's still a young man. He's got to be 12 years at least younger than Henderson. Henderson's at, 41, I think?
Yep.
And Higginson's got to be right coming into his prime.
1 ball and 1 strike. Two balls and 1 strike now to Polanco. Take a look at Thompson out in the bullpen for the St. Louis Cardinals, as Bennis has worked 3 innings. Mike Messina in his 3rd inning of work for the Orioles. We expect him to go maybe 5. Bouncer toward the middle. Jesus Garcia with the stop, but he has no throw. A diving stop by Garcia, preventing the ball to going to the outfield, but Polanco hustling down the line. That is his 2nd hit of the ball game. Mike Bordick did not make the trip, and Jesus Garcia at shortstop this afternoon for Mike Hargrove.
When you watch the fall through of Messina, he just has a little bit of a turn towards first base. A little bit. Messina's usually a little bit more square to the plate when he finishes. That's why he's such a great fielder and has 4 gold gloves already.
Edgar Renteria with a single to right field his first trip. So stole a base. Here goes the runner, and here's a fly ball. Well hit to right, but playable for Albert Bell. 1 gone in the bottom of the 3rd as Bell puts it away.
It appeared to be more of a run and hit. So, the Roos are trying to put some of the runners into motion today.
Mark McGwire, his first trip, skied out to Albert Bell in right field, and now McGwire gets his 2nd chance against Mike Messina. McGwire, for many years in Oakland with the Athletics, and then made it known that he wouldn't be re-signing with the Athletics, that they made that trade into St. Louis. Here comes Bell. He makes that sliding grab for the 2nd out. Now, Albert does that a lot on balls that he is chasing toward the infield. Goes down on the 1 knee and makes the sliding catch.
Again, the pitch from Messina, fastball down and away. Nice jump by Albert.
And now Dunston, whose fly ball to left field, brought in the only run of the ball game.
That's the thing. Once McGwire hits the ball, your normal reaction is to take a step back because he's so big and hits so many over your head. That was a good read on the part of Albert Bell.
Dunston with that RBI in the 1st, now with 5 runs driven in here in Florida for the Cardinals. Dunston out of the batter's box, collecting his thoughts. Now he steps in. Orioles have a run on 5 hits. The Cardinals a run on 3. They have a runner at first base, Polanco, who started the inning with an infield hit, but 2 gone. Right at the knees for a strike.
Yeah, Messina does the same thing. You're talking about Dunston getting his thoughts together. If you watch Messina, right before he gets set or takes his sign, he'll make up his mind in this little gap of time. He'll look down towards the third base area, and right here's where he's making up his mind. And when he made it up, then he'll look for the sign.
1-1. When you were pitching, did you ever have a catcher that was always on the same wavelength?
Oh, no question. Yeah.
Who was it?
Well, I mean, at times they all were. It's a wonderful thing when the catcher and pitcher are in sync, and you maybe haven't thrown a curveball for 2 innings, and all of a sudden it pops in your mind curveball, and all of a sudden there it comes, and that's when it gets a little scary. Or the catcher put down 1 away, and if he hits that, if you can hit that spot, it's probably a double play, and to have that happen with great frequency is a wonderful thing. That's really when pitching is fun, but it's when you're thinking fastball and he's thinking changeup that you wonder, is he right or am I right? And you get this little bit of a doubt going between. And actually, even how a catcher's fingers comes down for the sign, sometimes you wonder if they sort of just barely pop out of there. Well, maybe he's not sure. I better shake that one. But if they come down, right, you're thinking curveball, and he puts down 1 real firmly. You say, well, maybe he's right.
Here's a strike 3 called. 4th strikeout for Messina. 3 gone. And the Orioles and the Cardinals here in Jupiter continue tied, 1 run apiece. HTS coverage of Orioles baseball is brought to you by Mountain Dew, who reminds you to do the do. 1-1 ball game, top of the 4th. Orioles making the drive. I guess it's about 50 minutes to an hour north of Fort Lauderdale up I-95 to a facility that's a very conducive facility for spring training.
Or if you drive like Jim Palmer, it's about 15 minutes from Fort Lauderdale.
I'm surprised I didn't see Jim here today.
He probably was going so fast, he's probably in Daytona, just went right by before he could slow down.
Jesus Garcia takes a strike. Garcia delivered the Orioles' run in the 2nd inning with a single to left field. Garcia has just had a very good spring at the plate and in the field for the Orioles, and you figure he's going to be the utility guy for Mike Hargrove. Outside. There's been some talk that Jerry Hairston might fill that role, but I think if you're the Orioles, you would want a Hairston to play every day in Rochester and get as many at-bats as possible if he's not going to stick with the ball.
Oh, you're exactly right.
Dunston will play that one. Now the wind catches it, and Dunston's still on the run, and he makes the catch.
You're really not going to learn anything sitting on the bench. You should be working on your skills, fine-tuning them.
I know sometimes it's difficult for the player
to accept it, sure, but it's actually the best thing for them in the long run.
Mark Thompson throwing in the bullpen, so this will be the final inning of work for Andy Bennis. But then when if you're a player and you sit down and realize what they have in mind for you, you might accept it. I remember last year Jerry was a little upset going back to Rochester, but then he said he collected his thoughts and figured, well, maybe this is the best thing for me, and then came back and felt like he was part of the ball club.
Well, anytime you work your way through the minor leagues, you just don't want to take any steps back. And so it's get the AA is the goal 1 year, then the AAA. When I get to AAA, I want to learn as much as I can, get to the major leagues and stay there is everybody's plan.
2 balls and no strikes to Messina. A swinging strikeout is only at bat today.
Especially with the impression Hairston made.
This is a situation when you watch Mike Messina bat as a left-handed batter. Every manager has to have his heart in his throat watching your right-hander batting as a left-handed batter, because if he gets plunked on that right arm, there could be some problems.
They hold their breath.
Here's the walk to Mike Messina. It's walk number 2 issued by Bennis. And with 1 out, Messina's at first base. And that brings up the line to Shields, who's been on base once today in 2 trips. He's walked and flied out to center, and that's going to do it for Andy Bennis as Tony La Russa comes out, and he signals he wants Thompson to come out of the bullpen. Maybe he just wanted Bennis to start this top of the 4th. And when he saw him walk, the pitcher Messina, he said, "That's enough. I don't want any problems created." Well, this is the Bell Atlantic call to the bullpen as the new pitcher Thompson comes out for the St. Louis Cardinals. Did not appear to be too happy leaving the ball game, Mike Flanagan.
No, I think he must have been on a pitch count, a hard pitch count of maybe around 75 as he threw 78. And when he was through with Messina's at bat, he was finished.
Thompson, another right-hander, faces the Shields. Thompson is 28 years of age. He had some shoulder problems in '98, struggled early, and was released by the Cincinnati Reds, signed with the Cardinals last year, and went to 2.94 in the ERA category at AAA, and then he pitched to a 2.76 earned run average with the Cardinals. Base hit into right field. Of course, McGuire holding with the runner Messina. So with one down, the Orioles now have runners at first and second. Noticed while the new pitcher came on, I'd love to have listened in on the conversation that was going on down at first base. You had Mike Messina, Mark McGuire, and Eddie Murray all engaged in conversation down there.
Yeah, what's that, 1,000 home runs between two guys? And a guy that spent his career trying not to give him up. They had him in a pretty good sandwich.
So DeShields is on, and DeShields continues to hit well. It's his 15th hit this spring in 45 trips. Amaral swings and misses for strike one. Rich is singled and grounded out to short. So the walk to Messina and the pitching change. The Shields greets Thompson with a single to right field, and now Rich Amaral faces the right-hander Thompson. This is outside. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Thompson had a chance to be a member of starting rotation. He was with Colorado in 1996, made 28 starts. Ended up 9-11 that season, and since then he's sort of bounced back and forth, trying to reestablish himself. The Cardinals, so desperate for pitching last year, signed him after being released by Cincinnati, as you said earlier.
Last year was a year that I'm sure Tony La Russa would like to forget, as the injuries just cascaded one right after another for that ball club. Pitching, fielding,
and disappointing seasons. J.D. Drew, who we saw last spring, looked like he had star written all over him, but the old dreaded curveball got to J.D. Drew.
And the strikeout of Rich Amaral. B.J. Surhoff will step in now. B.J. 0 for 2, a fly ball to left, and then a fly ball to right. Orioles 1, Cardinals 1. Top of the 4th inning. Messina's the runner at second base. The Shields at first. He's off the fist. Second baseman shovels to the shortstop Renteria for the final out. Orioles strand 2. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Orioles and the Cardinals tied at 1. Now that number again, 685-9800 for a 13 or 29 game ticket plan. Enjoying some sunshine here in South Florida. Waving to you, Mike Flanagan. Oh, there's the
husband of.
The husband of, right. And Eric Davis comes up as Mike Messina goes into his 4th inning of work. Garcia will play the hop. And Davis is the first out on 1 pitch. J.D. Drew, the guy we were talking about just before the end of the top of the 4th, will stand in now. Yeah, Drew is expected to be a big star, and as you say, that breaking ball has ruined many a career. Not that it's ruined his career. No. I'm sure he's young enough to make the adjustment.
To make an adjustment. It got so bad that they figured he struck out 30% of his at-bats last year.
On the run is B.J. Surhoff along with Garcia, and neither will get to it as the ball hits around the bullpen area, and Jesus picks the ball up, flips it overhead, and gives somebody a souvenir this ball game.
And getting back to the dead fastball hitter, a lot of good hitters start off as good fastball hitters, and then they have to make the adjustment to the off-speed stuff. I mean, the bottom line is if you can't hit a good major league fastball, you're never going to get here to begin with. So again, it's adjustment time for J.D. Drew.
Last year he hit .242, 39 runs driven in, 13 home runs for the left-handed batting outfielder. 1 ball and 1 strike to Drew. He's in center field today, but as we mentioned earlier, he'll be moving to left field with the Cardinals acquisition of Jim Edmonds from the Anaheim Angels overnight.
Jeff Newman, the new bench coach, right-hand man of Mike Hargrove.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Of course, Brian Graham, another addition to the coaching staff, will not be in uniform this year. He'll be the eye in the sky for the Orioles.
Hard worker. We've seen him out the ballpark early. He's very good at the organizational skills.
Garcia should handle this one well. And that's the second out. So 2 ground balls to Jesus. Tatis will come up. After hitting 34 home runs last year for the Cardinals, Tatis still looking for that first springtime round tripper. Former member of the Texas Rangers, traded to the St. Louis Cardinals. Tatis came into his own last season. Rich Amaral ranging into right center. 3 up, 3 down. Very easy inning for Mike Messina. We go to the top of the 5th. Orioles 1, Cardinals 1. Jupiter just a bit north of Palm Beach, West Palm Beach. And I remember the first trip we made here a few seasons ago, nothing was around here. Now, buildings going on up everywhere.
Everything looks new.
Yeah.
When we first moved here, it really did look like Jupiter.
Right.
The planet.
Yeah, the planet.
There you go.
There, the guy's working.
There's the long man in the bullpen.
How could they not stop and watch the ball game?
But you remember here, I think a couple of years ago when they were still finishing up as spring training started, there was some work on the roofs and stuff. They were ducking a lot of long fly balls.
Albert Bell with a strike. I remember a couple of seasons ago in Oakland when they were building that monstrosity.
Yeah, right.
And those guys, they had a pretty good job. They'd stop in between innings.
They also had to stop because remember the welder had all the metals coming down in the middle of the game. There was a light out in center field.
0-2 to Albert. Albert has a single and 2 trips today. Albert Bell now 11 for 44. He's driven in 8, a couple of home runs. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Bell. Mark Thompson, the second pitcher of the afternoon for the St. Louis Cardinals. Andy Bennis went 3 1/3, gave up a run on 5 hits, a strikeout and a couple of walks. Messina has gone so far for the Orioles. We expect to see Al Reyes, Mike Trombley, and then Mike Timlin. 2 balls, 2 strikes. When he got ahead of Albert, and now he's starting to kind of nibble around. Doesn't want to come with anything too fat.
The thing is, Albert will sit on a breaking ball. An excellent slider hitter.
Center, also the shortstop and second baseman. The second baseman Polanco will make the catch. 1 gone. Cal will get his 3rd at bat of the day. He singled and scored the Orioles' only run, that back in the 2nd, and then a fly ball to Drew in center field in the 3rd. Cal Ripken with that base hit. 7 for 41. He's driven in 3 runs. He has no home runs this spring. As usual, when the name Ripken is mentioned, the applause from the fans. And a strike at the knees to Cal. And every time the Cardinals play here with the last several years, it's been a sellout with Mark McGwire expected to be in the lineup. Cal off his foot, and that hurts. But you see out in the little grassy area behind the bullpen of the St. Louis Cardinals, folks sitting on the grass there on their blankets as we watch Cal get the ouch on the ball. Fortunately, it hit the ground first and then bounced up to the leg and not right down on the instep. But there's the folks. They're enjoying the ball game, picnic style.
Oh, yeah.
1-2 now to Ripken. The relaxed atmosphere of spring training. Dunston will get over there. Out number 2. Well, Cal has hit the ball twice hard to left field. Dunston tracked both down, but still Cal getting the heavy part of the bat on the baseball.
It's all about feel. They want to feel comfortable in the box. Same thing we try to teach with the pitchers while you're down here. Same thing, you want to feel comfortable on the mound. You may not always get the results you want.
Conine has walked and doubled. Breaking ball does not find the plate. Following Conine will be Charles Johnson. 2 gone, top of the 5th. A 1-1 ball game. This one catch catches the corner. No activity in the Oriole bullpen, so Mike Messina will come out for a 5th inning of work this afternoon, maybe a final inning. Outside corner, so a couple inside, then he goes outside, and he has a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Mark Thompson reads the sign from Rick Wilkins, the catcher. Goes outside again, but it's too far off the plate. 2-2 to Jeff. Full count now. The other day, the Miami paper was running a piece about the Florida Marlins, talking about the greatest Marlins of all time. Jeff Conine and Gary Sheffield were the names they mentioned. Drew on the run. Will he get it? No. It's over his head. Goes to the wall. So Conine will go into second base. His second double of the ball game. Conine 2 for 2 and a walk.
Nothing but line drive, something he worked on yesterday with Terry Crowley. I thought he was hitting too many high, lazy fly balls. Let's narrow it down. Let's hit some balls on the button, and he does on this last fastball. Just a classic short stroke. Conine very strong forearms.
I know Conine's one of the many big leaguers who had been wearing contacts, now no longer doing that with the laser surgery. I hear him doing commercials down here in the Florida area for a laser.
There you go.
Yeah. Charles Johnson, another Marlin, former Marlin at the plate. 2 out, runner in scoring position in a 1-1 ball game, top of the 5th. Outside to Charles. Charles 0 for 2, a couple of pop outs. One to the second baseman, the other to the shortstop. There's a strike. I think Charles thought that was too far outside.
You can see Thompson's best pitch is that slider. You can choose to tell on important counts what pitch the pitcher features is what he considers his best pitch.
1-2 now to the Oriole catcher. Conine's 2-out double has him at second base. As Thompson glances back. Still alive is Charles Johnson. And there's the guy that is enjoying himself, he says, this year. Jimmy Leland, former Marlin skipper, of course, many great years with the Pittsburgh Pirates, great year with the Florida Marlins, and then all of a sudden the decimation of that franchise.
Right.
Now this year a special assistant down here. Says he really doesn't miss managing. Outside 2-2.
You can tell the game is still in his blood, though.
You know, Jimmy Leland the other day sitting in the stands watching the ball game with his son.
And he's just such a great teacher. That's the thing. He's a great teacher that went on to be a manager. Now you see him in the spring. He works with the young kids. It's still rewarding enough for Jimmy Leland to be around and be in uniform.
They're saying, I read a piece, I guess when we first got down to spring training, all the reporters were trying to get him to say he really misses being a manager, and says he doesn't miss that. He doesn't miss the pressure and all of the nuances that today's big league manager has to go through to run a ball club.
Well, dealing with the media and certainly the long hours you put in, injuries, a lot of heavy decisions. I mean, a lot of managers, I know Earl Weaver used to dread the end of spring training. It was because he had to tell some young kid he was going back to AAA, or some young kid that he wasn't going to be good enough and would be, you know, outrighted or released. And Earl Weaver used to dread those days.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Charles Johnson. Jeff Conine at second. 1-1. Orioles and the Cardinals in the top of the 5th in Jupiter, Florida. Charles Johnson goes down swinging. Conine stranded at second base. 1-1. Orioles and the Cardinals as we move to the 5th. The United telecast is presented by authority of the Baltimore Orioles and CBS Cable and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and the description of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Baltimore Orioles and CBS Cable. Mike Messina will start his 5th inning of work. He'll have Wilkins, the pitcher's spot, and then Polanco for the St. Louis Cardinals in this 1-1 ball game. Orioles out hitting the Cards 7-3. Cardinals scored the first run of the ball game, a couple of singles and a one-out sacrifice fly off the bat of Dunston in the first inning. The Orioles tied it in the second as Jesus Garcia brought home his 9th run of the spring. Rick Wilkins, the catcher, walked his only trip today. Thompson, the pitcher, will come up to bat. He's swinging the bat in the on-deck area. No activity yet for the Orioles in their bullpen. We do see some activity from some of the extra players here as Jerry Hairston limbering up out there. First pitch to Wilkins, ball 1. Wilkins will go for extra bases as Bell plays the carom off the wall, and Wilkins with a leadoff two-bagger here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Well, Moose had retired the last 6 in order. Check out the pitch location down the middle. Fastball ends up in the same spot, right on it.
And now the pitcher, Mark Thompson, will come up for St. Louis.
Well, you may see a bunt play in order. Cal Ripken in charge of the signs on which play they'll use. Looks like we'll get a pinch runner at the same time.
You see number 56. Looks like Brian McRae going out there to pitch run for the catcher Wilkins.
Maybe sort of hone in on Cal. You can usually tell when he thinks that it's a bunt situation. They usually get a sideways sort of a setup where he can watch the runner on second base and cheat in far enough to be able to get back to third in case of a steal.
He's going to bunt. No, he's not. He got it at third.
Safe at third base. I don't know as we kept quiet there. I don't know if you heard the yell in the background. He's going to bunt.
Early square.
Yeah. So runners at first and third now for St. Louis.
Just a little bit of a bobble out of the glove cost Messina just a split second. Looks like Cal wasn't able to hold on to it either. But a quick flip, very aggressive base running from McRae.
And now Polanco will stand in. Thompson, the pitcher, at first base, and the pinch runner McRae down to third. We're tied at 1. Nobody down. Cal in on the grass at third base.
Good hitter right here now.
As Messina works against the right-handed batter. To DeShields. He'll get 2, but a run will score for the Cardinals. It's a 2-1 Cardinal lead. As it goes 4-6-3 on the double play, but the runner McRae comes in from third base.
Well, you'll swap the run for 2 outs. Stay out of the big inning. I think the other thing that's interesting, it's sort of the Robbie Alomar effect all around baseball now. Watch the flip from DeShields. It used to be traditionally you turned, and now everyone is doing that backhanded Robbie Alomar flip. I've seen it all over the league from Montreal to certainly St. Louis now, and the Orioles.
Breaking ball to Renteria for the strike.
That's called leaving your mark on the game when you've changed something that's been done one way for so long.
Yeah, it was remarkable watching Robbie Alomar play second base the years we did in Baltimore. 2 strikes.
Take a look at Moose's pitch count. The first inning, 28. Aggressively better as he's gone on. That's into this inning. So in the first, he threw 28 and threw 33 the next 3 innings. It's called making adjustments.
And he picks up another strikeout. Strikeout number 5 to end the inning. We go to the top of the 6th. Orioles now trailing 2-1. St. Louis, Rick Wilkins, who started the Cardinals on the way to their second run of the ballgame with a leadoff double in the 5th, then replaced by Brian McRae on the base pass, has given way behind the plate to Mike Matheny, the new catcher. So Matheny in catching for the St. Louis Cardinals as Mark Thompson continues on the hill. Now we see some activity for the Orioles in their bullpen as Mike Timlin has gotten the baseball, and he's beginning to crank it up in the pen.
Oh, that's the thing a manager has to gauge, is that when you're on the road, you're not sure what that 9th inning is going to look like. So a lot of times you'll bring your closer in the 6th earlier, obviously, than you would ever use him to make sure he gets his inning.
First pitch to Jesse Garcia. Jesus takes it outside. Still tough getting into the Jesus swing.
Yeah.
I'm used to calling him Jesse, but I promised him I would.
It's going to be a long time for me.
Inside. 2 balls and no strikes to Jesus Garcia.
But I guess the way he swung the bat this spring, he's trying to erase Jesse. He sort of had the label the last couple of years as good field, no hit. He's changed that for me this spring. Much more relaxed and aggressive at the plate.
You know, he comes with confidence, I think. Here's a strike on the inside corner. Jesus did not like the call. And the Cardinals, that's James, the right-hander, up and throwing. Mike James with the long sideburns.
Yeah.
And Garcia goes down swinging. First Oriole gone here in the top of the 6th. Second strikeout for Mark Thompson.
And his go-to pitch already established is that slider. Almost a backup slider. Stayed right on the inside part of the plate. Looks like Jesse was, or Jesus was waiting for it to go away.
Well, Messina will leave the ball game. Wadi Almonte is not the pinch hitter. It's been announced. Of course, the Orioles have sent several guys to their minor league setup over in Sarasota, and then have brought some guys back just to fill in with the split squad game coming up tomorrow. But Wadi Almonte was announced, but it is not Wadi. And let's see if we have the right numbers here that we have to give you. Because we've been given the note that several guys have made the trip, and we'll see if we can come up with the right player here to match the number. And it's fouled back. Kind of embarrassing when you don't know all of these numbers. Well, 75, and I'm looking on this.
We don't have any biases built in. We're just going to enjoy this bat, rate his swing.
I just found it. Howie Clark.
I knew that, but I wasn't going to tell you.
So Howie Clark pinch hitting for Mike Messina. And there's a pitch outside. Clark, left-handed batter, obviously. Delino to Shields on deck. Mike Timlin will come in to work in the bottom of the 6th for the Orioles. Foul back to the screen. Howie Clark, 5'10", 195 pounds. Last year, split his time with Bowie and Rochester. Clark began his pro career in 1992 in the Gulf Coast. Deep in the hole at short. Renteria with a long throw. Not inside. Infield hit for the pinch hitter Clark.
Well, congratulations. Nice getting a handshake from a future Hall of Famer. Infield base hit. Join the party.
We'll watch the hit go the opposite way.
And you see when Thompson needs to make an important pitch, he goes right to that breaking ball. Renteria, nice effort. Just a little late.
Howdy. First 30 right here. Let's go.
Now we have Delino to Shields. Delino hitting 2 official trips. He's also walked this afternoon. Thrown away. 1 ball and no strikes to DeShields. James continuing to throw for the Cardinals in their pen, and Timlin for the Orioles and down the left side in the Orioles bullpen area. Clark has his lead at first. On the hard plate. Rich Amaral will follow. Infield looking for the double play with 1 out in the top of the 6th inning. A 2-1 lead for St. Louis. And 1 strike. Delino holding up the hand to tell Clark not to try to advance. Ball was caught by catcher Mike Matheny.
Hey, buddy, Bob. Hey, go.
Mark Thompson to the left-handed bat of Orioles second baseman Delino to Shields. Howie Clark, the pinch hitter, delivered with an infield hit at first base. More about Howie Clark. He was the Orioles' 27th pick in the 1992 first-year player draft. And really, this is the first opportunity we've had to see Howie Clark outside. Howie's played just about every stop in the Oriole farm system as you look down his record. Always a pretty fair hitter, not much power. He's an infielder. He's at first base after delivering a pinch hit for Mike Messina. Outside ball 4. So the Orioles with runners at first and second. First walk given up by Thompson. And the Orioles have runner at second base, runner at first. Clark, the runner at second base, and Delino to Shields at first base. And Rich Amaral, who has singled in 3 trips. One strike to Rich. Here's a guy, when you look at Rich Amaral, you see perseverance. Many years in the Seattle Mariners organization. A guy that played down at the minor league level for a long time, could have easily given up, then got his opportunity. A guy that Lou Piniella liked a lot because of his hustle. Inside, 1 ball and 1 strike now to Rich Amaral. And a guy who maintains tremendous conditioning.
He stays in great shape. He's one of those guys that's never out of shape. So it's not a lot of work to get in shape for Rich Amaral. He really plays the game at a nice pace, nice relaxed, never overswings. Very heady ball player.
1-2 now to Amaral. Checking the runners for you. Clark at second base. Delino to Shields at first. Orioles trailing by a run here in the top of the 6th. 2-1. It's a 1 ball 2 strike count to Rich Amaral, with B.J. Surhoff hoping to get a shot here in this inning. Back to the pitcher. To second for 1, and that's all they're going to get. As the shortstop Renteria lost the ball as he came across the plate. I should say across the bag, as the second base umpire indicated that he held onto it long enough. He crossed the bag, hit the bag with a foot, and then looked like as he was ready to transfer, dropped the baseball.
Well, it was a great play by certainly Renteria. The ball is back to the pitcher, but when he turns, he sees the second baseman. He's actually thrown to the second baseman. Watch Renteria cut across and take the throw. And what that is not knowing who has the coverage as a pitcher. Before the situations like that with double plays in order, you turn to the infield and say, you know, it's you and me on this one.
Runners at the corners now with 2 out. And B.J. Surhoff will come up. Surhoff looking down at third base coach Sam Perlazzo, who's occupied keeping an eye on the runner Clark at third base and the pitcher. Foul. 1 strike to B.J. So James will come on for the Cardinals. It'll be interesting to see what kind of a situation that James will come in during the year, whether he will come in to start innings or in the middle of innings, but he continues to throw. Pitch on the way to Surhoff low. Nice stop by Matheny. And we saw that Andy Bennis was lifted in the middle of an inning. Not too much happy was Andy when he saw Tony La Russa come out of the dugout to lift him, but Thompson has come on, done a good job so far. He has runners at first and third and 2 out. Albert Bell on deck, Surhoff at the plate. Amaral is at first base, Clark at third. The 1-1 offering on the way. 2 balls and 1 strike. It looks like Thompson is not an overpowering guy. As you say, he's got that slider.
Yeah, he really just shows you his fastball. When he wants to get you out, he goes to that breaking ball.
The second baseman will make the play. Can they get him at first? They do. Nice play by the pitcher, getting over there in time to make the reception of the throw. We go to the bottom of the 6th. 2-1 Cardinals. Orioles trailing by a 2-1 score here in Jupiter, Florida against the Cardinals. So time for the cellular one. You make the call. Is he safe? Is he out? The umpire thought he was out. Let's see.
That's one of those. Is he safe or is he out or is he?
Thought it was a good call.
Sure was.
The hustling B.J. Surhoff. Nice play by the second baseman Polanco and the pitcher to get over there in heavy traffic.
It's hard to throw on the run to a pitcher on the run. They do it quite well.
They have a new battery in, it appears, for the Orioles. We see Mike Timlin has come on to do the pitching for the Orioles. And Willie Morales behind the plate to do the catching, replacing Charles Johnson. Timlin has had a very strong spring, Mike.
Well, you know, the last 2 seasons, identical. 18 out of 19 saves and save opportunities, and he's just trying to do something about that first half jinx or slow start that he's gotten off to the last 2 years, one with the Mariners and last year with the Orioles. And certainly he's done everything to work on that, almost treating spring training like it's April and not March.
I think the quote that I saw, and when I kid around about with Mike about his situation, I say, well, here we are, it's July 15th. He says, that's right. He says,
correct.
The day after the All-Star game. That's what I'm thinking, because that's when I usually get strong.
Whatever way you have to train your mind, do it.
And it's Mark McGwire. Albert Bell with a nice running grab. One gone, one pitch. McGwire just displays great power anywhere. Right field, left center, right center.
See, again, I think you have to go back and say, great pitching by Mussina. What you do is retire Renteria so you don't have to face McGwire the next inning. That's just smart pitching.
Here's Dunston. His sacrifice fly in the first inning brought in the first run of the ball game. He's also taken a strike 3. 0 for 2, 0 for 1 officially against Mike Mussina. Mike Timlin, this is his 8th game, and that's not counting the game over in Sarasota when he pitched 3 innings.
Mike James continues to warm in the Cardinals pen.
We also see a lot of position players warming out there. Bell should handle this one again. 2 up, 2 down. And now Eric Davis will come to the plate.
Yeah, it's been Mike Timlin's goal this spring, just to pound the strike zone down in, and you see that happening a lot. Gets a lot of first to pitch outs, and if he gets ahead, then he's been getting the hitters to expand the zone. Last year in the spring, he was a little on the wild side from what I remembered, and missing location, and really didn't leave Florida in a very good groove. So he's trying to change all that this year.
The Shields will run it down. And off the glove of Conine. Nice job by Davis to avoid hitting into Conine as he did a high hurdle over the Oriole first baseman.
Another nice effort, certainly on the part of both Conine and DeShields on this play. Looks like it's going to get into right field. See how deeply DeShields ranges. Throws on the run, spinning around just a little bit to the foul line side. As a first baseman, that's when you really feel like you're hung out. You can almost hear that runner coming down the line behind you.
J.D. Drew, left-handed batter, will step in. 0 for 2 this afternoon. Davis is now 1 for 3. He went 1 for 4 in his initial game of the spring yesterday. Strike at the knees.
I think so far since Timlin's come into the game, nothing but strikes. Most times you see the catchers moving out to corners, and not so this spring. Right down the middle. Give it to me.
Nice block by the catcher Morales. Two-1 Orioles trailing. 2 gone for the Cards in the bottom of the 6th. Eric Davis, former Oriole at first base. And that one almost got away, but Conine reaching behind the runner to come up with it.
Well, if Conine's not loose, he is now. Last 2 plays.
It was a human hurdle as he went after one. This time he had to reach around Eric. After throwing strikes 2 consecutive out of the strike zone.
Of course, because we alluded to that.
Yeah, of course. Whenever you open your mouth, huh?
That's right.
Two and 2 now to J.D. Drew. James has been warming up for quite a while down there. Continues to throw in the bullpen. Wonder if he's warming up or getting in some throws.
Yeah. Or just making sure he's ready.
Ready, yeah. Davis with his lead at first. There he goes. High, and there was no way that Morales could even think about throwing to second base, because it was like Timlin forgot all about Eric Davis. Eric just took off, and Morales would have needed a bazooka to get him. Watch him.
Well, that's the veteran move. He just sees that Timlin's not paying a lot of attention. It's an early great jump.
Now he's in scoring position. A base hit could lift the Cardinals to a 2-run lead. They now have a 2-1 advantage. And there's a swing and a miss. So Timlin comes back with one right down the plate. And that's it for the Cards. They strand the runner at second base. We head down to the 7th at Jupiter. Orioles trailing the Cards 2-1. Woods. McGuire has left the ball game, but also a new pitcher on. Mike James becomes the third pitcher of the afternoon for Tony La Russa, and Larry Sutton takes over for Mark McGuire at first base. James, the man of the long sideburns.
Yeah, he a little eccentric for a right-hander. Usually that goes out to left-handers. But James, at one time, a very important member of the Anaheim Angels bullpen corps. Terrific setup man, but missed most of 1998 with that Tommy John surgery, which they feel he's fully recovered from. He had a devastating sinker and slider at one point, and a very aggressive pitcher on the mound. So we'll see how he has recovered as he comes back to being maybe an important part of the Cardinal bullpen.
Yeah, the Angels had a pretty good 1-2 punch with James and then Percival.
That's right.
Albert Bell with his 4th at bat of the day. A ground out, a single, and a pop out for Albert. Cal Ripken on deck, and then Jeff Conine. James tall and lean. Cute off the end of the bats.
You can see a pretty good look at that slider. I know I talked to Eddie Murray about James and said when he was on top of his game, he was as tough as anyone. But you can also see in his delivery, he puts a lot of whip into that elbow. And many times when you critique, I guess, a pitcher's delivery, you can find sort of his weak point. If you just watch his elbow and when he releases the ball, the tremendous snap he forces on his elbow. His front shoulder pulls off a little prematurely, which exposes that elbow, and I'm sure that's why he had the surgery. It's just sort of a natural flaw. It's partly that same flaw has helped him be successful because it creates a nasty sink action on his fastball.
The 0-2 delivery to Bell is missing. Mike Trombley was scheduled to see some action today, and he will, as it looks like Mike Timlin will work the 1 inning, giving up a hit, facing 4 batters. Orioles trailing by a run, 2-1, top of the 7th. The James delivery to Bell. Bell, strike 3 call. Albert thought it was a little high and outside. Says something to the home plate umpire, and now walks away. Thought that pitch was out of the strike zone. Let's judge for ourselves here.
Well, actually, I think it's been a very conservative strike zone today. That ball probably 2 things wrong with it, up and out over the plate. I always try to pick up on the catcher's glove. If there's no pullback, then it's usually off the plate. Just a little one by Matheny.
Cal Ripken this afternoon, 1 for 3. He's hit the ball hard his 2 times that he did not get a base hit.
As you can see, James from that low 3/4 angle, very tough on right-handers. Health-wise, looks like he's rebounded completely from that Tommy John surgery.
Two strikes now to Cal Ripken.
Take a look at the follow through. If you just sort of focus in on his elbow, watch the snap he puts on, the pressure he puts on that elbow.
And strike 3. So 2 batters, 2 strikeouts. Bell called. This one swinging by Cal, and Conine, who's had a very good day, a walk and a couple of doubles will stand in.
It's that low 3/4 angle. The ball just cuts across the zone and down.
James, one of a couple of pitchers of this Cardinal team going through that Tommy John surgery. Matt Morris, a left-hander, is expected back in mid-June following Tommy John surgery last year. Alan Bennis, Andy's brother, had shoulder surgery. We're talking about the injuries that they suffered, and it is cascading for
Dr. Andrews is certainly busy.
1-0 to Conine. 2 balls and no strikes to the Oriole first baseman. So tomorrow the Orioles will host the Dodgers in Fort Lauderdale, and we'll be on the air as the Orioles and the Dodgers hook up. To the third baseman. Tatis with that sidearm throw. 3 up, 3 down go the Orioles against James. We move to the bottom of the 7th. St. Louis 2, Orioles 1. Well, Mike, let's take a look now at the side where Dr. Bean game summary. Mike Messina started with a struggle in the first inning, but then really smoothed out.
Yeah, he did 68 pitches. Pretty good number. We usually judge 12 to 15 an inning after the recovery from the 28 in the first. 5 ground ball outs, excellent. 5 strikeouts. So a lot of outs recorded in the infield. And on the base runners in the first 6 innings, stranded 11 men for the Orioles. Mark McGwire 0 for 3, 3 fly outs. It's nice keeping him in front of the fence for a change.
Yeah, the Orioles not delivering that big hit over the last several ball games as they've struggled at the plate. They're getting the base runners in this ball game where they weren't the previous 2.
Well, right. We figured, 1 run in the last 18 innings, and now it's just 2 in the last 25.
Changes for the Orioles defensively, and we'll run them down for you as Tatis stands in against the new Orioles pitcher Mike Trombley, who's had a very good spring.
And he's really going to be the important right-hander out of the bullpen to get to Mike Timlin. Certainly the late inning guy. He's got an outstanding overhand curveball, forkball, and fastball. 3 quality pitches. Last year 2-8 for the Twins in 87 innings and 75 games. So he's been a workhorse over his career with the Twins.
The strength of Trombley, sinking fastball.
Durability, sinking fastball, and I think the Orioles felt with that sinker much more effective in Camden Yards than maybe on that fast turf in Minnesota. But over the last 3 seasons, 67 appearances, 77 appearances, 75 appearances. So I think the Orioles feel if you can cut him back to maybe 55, 60 appearances, take 15 off, that he'll be even better.
Of course, last year when the Twins traded Rick Aguilera, he became the closer and did a credible job.
Well, he had 24 saves last year.
And strike 3. Now, we mentioned some changes for the Orioles. Let's set up the Orioles defensively for you once again. B.J. Surhoff still in left field. Eugene Kingsale has moved into center field in place of Rich Amaral. Albert Bell no longer in the ball game. Wayne Kirby there. Around the infield, Morales catching. Ryan Miner replaces Cal Ripken at third base. Jesus Garcia still at short. Jerry Hairston now in the ball game, replacing Delino DeShields at second. Jeff Conine still there. Trombley, the pitcher.
Nice.
And Mike Matheny, the catcher, comes up. You see the Oriole bullpen and Al Reyes getting ready to throw down there. Very important outing for Al Reyes, who had a good one in Fort St. Lucie a couple of days ago after a really struggle most of this spring. The 1-0 delivery, pulled foul, and hits off that fencing in front of the Oriole dugout. That's a good idea. Who's that, Vince Horstman out there with his
we got cameramen everywhere.
Yeah, Vince.
Even inside the game.
Yeah, Vince down there. He's got his little handheld camera down there.
Well, actually, what he's doing, he's working for the club. That's not a home video. He's shooting Mike Trombley from that angle. And pitching coach Sammy Ellis likes to see that angle.
Al Matheny liked what he saw there and sends it high and deep to left field, but foul.
And if you look at our low third base camera, that's the angle that we like to shoot the pitchers a lot. So Vince Horstman doing the same thing for Sammy Ellis right in front. He knows a good camera position from our crew.
1 ball and 2 strikes now to Matheny.
There's a shot. So they want the same exact angle. You can really tell when our pitcher's delivery is correct. If he's staying back over that right leg, in this case with Trombley, head should be back right over that right leg as it is right there. And that's what they'll dissect the next day.
I don't know if the fans know it or not, but when the Orioles go on the road, they go with all that video equipment. And the guys can sit before the ball game and watch videos of the pitcher who's pitching that night, watch themselves in at-bats.
They'll replay, games he's made, the starts the pitcher, the opposition pitcher has made against the Orioles. I've often felt today, if you had a power failure, you wouldn't be able to play the game. Wouldn't be able to run the video equipment.
Then, of course, the guy who runs the video equipment for the Orioles, he'll put together certain videos of at-bats, and it's such a technical situation. Right center field, Kirby nor Kingsale can get it. And Matheny is thinking about a triple, but he'll stop at second base.
And then he remembered he was a catcher.
Yeah, right.
Well, we did see Piazza hit one, though.
Yeah, the other night in Port St. Lucie. So Matheny is at second base. That's the second double out of the Cardinals catchers today.
Just going right with that pitch. Short stroke employed by Matheny, but you can see the catcher's legs. There's no way there's even triple. What's he thinking about, Fred?
Well, reality struck.
The mind says yes, but the legs say no. That's right.
Larry Sutton batting in that 9th spot in the lineup. A spot that had previously been held by the pitchers. Left-handed batter. Cues it off the end of the bat. Ryan Miner right at the bag makes the throw, and that's it for Sutton. Nice play by Ryan Miner, who's really knowing really in the back of his mind that his chances of making this ball club slim and none, has done a really good, hard-working spring training.
Yeah, he's really matured and much more relaxed than I think maybe a couple of springs ago when he felt maybe in his heart he had a chance to make the club. But this is a nice play on the run. Get it out of the glove. Your body weight's taking you in the opposite direction. He just makes a perfect throw to Conine.
Matheny's still at second base with 2 gone now, and Polanco will stand in. He has a couple of singles. He's also into a double play, and that double play brought in the go-ahead run. Morales quickly to his right side to stop that.
Who's that guy?
He's doing his work, huh?
Well, they said not mandatory running after the workout, but this is the program that Rip has employed. No matter how long he plays in the game, he'll go out and put a little extra.
2-0 now.
And as you get older, you have to do those things. When you're 23, 24 years old, it all comes quite easily.
Orioles trailing 2-1. Cardinals at bat on their home field here in Jupiter, Florida, in the bottom of the 7th. Runner at second base, 2 out. 2-0 delivery right down the middle. And apparently not so according to the home plate umpire.
I think, this goes back to the at-bat by Albert Bell. The pitch, well, was borderline whether it was a strike or a ball, but today I've really seen a very tight strike zone. So in today's strike zone, that was a ball.
3-0 delivery. They go ahead on the 3-0. Garcia throws it away. Matheny will come around third to score. It's a 3-1 Cardinals lead. And Garcia did a great job of getting to the ball, but then had to hurry the throw, and that cost him.
Well, tried to get the Orioles out of the inning. And watch him jam his foot into the ground to get to his feet as quickly as he can. You can see his head. He really wasn't even looking where he threw that ball, just trying to make a tremendous play. And watch him jam his leg in the ground to pop to his feet like a pop-up slide. But he missed the target by a good 6-8 feet.
So Garcia, angry with himself, felt he could have gotten the runner, but instead gets tacked on with an error. So E6. Fly ball center field. Kingsale will not get it. Rounding second and third, and headed to the plate is Polanco. And Renteria makes it a 4-1 lead for the St. Louis Cardinals with his second hit of the day.
And nobody feels worse about that run than Jesus Garcia. See, I did it.
You did.
Because by throwing the ball away, trying to make the great play, or maybe the impossible play, puts a runner in scoring position, next base hit, costs you a run.
So the Orioles are trailing now by 3.
And I guess the hardest thing for a young player to do is to put that ball in your pocket and not throw it to first.
Yeah. Eduardo Perez will get his first at bat of the day. Perez out in the right field, replacing Eric Davis. Breaking ball down and away. Sutton is at first base. He was batting in the number 9 hole. So as we get late in these spring training games, you get a lot of jockeying of batting order positions. Quick throw to first, and back standing is Renteria. Mike Trout Twombly, the third Oriole pitcher of the day, following Mike Messina and Mike Timlin. Throw to first again. Messina worked 5 innings, gave up a run on 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, and a walk. In Timlin's only inning of work, he faced 4 batters, a strikeout, and a single.
If you see the resemblance at the plate with Eduardo Perez, he is the son of Tony Perez. Stances and physique certainly running in the Perez family. Become the 129th father and son combination to play in the major leagues.
1 ball and 1 strike. Out of play, foul down the left side. Orioles tomorrow will be back in their spring training home at Fort Lauderdale. The Dodgers will be the opposition. We'll have that one for you on HTS. And Jose Mercedes will pitch for the Orioles. Oral Hershiser for Los Angeles, back with the Dodgers. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Strike 3 called. Perez walks it outside. 2 runs in here in the bottom of the 7th for the Cards. We go to the 8th. They lead it over the Orioles 4-1. Will come on for the Orioles, I would imagine, in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Morales will step in. Willie Morales not figuring in the Orioles' plans, but with the split squads and the fact that one day you'd have Greg Myers start and the next day Charles Johnson starts, you need the extra catchers around for late in the ballgame.
Well, and he may be a little bit more valuable than that. Do they figure if an injury to Myers or Charles Johnson, they feel this kid could step in and catch. So, I mean, he is, and I like the way he handles the pitching staff. And again, we talked about his target a little bit the other day, but, you know, he's an important piece. He's an important insurance factor. 6-year minor league free agent. He's experienced. And he's a good kid. He's a kid you got to root for.
And it gives Mike Hargrove an opportunity to see him.
Sure.
Because Hargrove, really, everything he knows about our organization has, until this spring, been on paper.
Yeah, exactly right. An opinion.
An opinion, right.
Yeah. So I think he thought that we were all crazy when we were saying what a great job Al Reyes did for the Orioles last year. And he's looking at, that's not the kid I've seen.
Yeah, right. Sure. Yeah, and then he finally saw it.
It's like saying, what are you guys doing up there? Keep that back loose, stretch it back out.
And Morales has a base hit. So Morales, who took over for Charles Johnson a couple of innings ago behind the plate, singles. And Jesus Garcia will come up. Garcia has delivered the only Oriole run this afternoon. That was the single in the 2nd inning. Orioles down by 3, 4-1. Top of the 8th inning in Jupiter. Orioles will have a split squad game tomorrow. Half the squad will be up here again playing. And the rest will be down in Fort Lauderdale. That's the game we'll have. Calvin Maduro will pitch here tomorrow against the Cardinals. So Maduro and Mercedes, a couple of guys fighting for a spot on the staff, will be working simultaneously.
You're right, and there's no coincidence that they're working the same day. That's the way a pitching coach will build it. They've been piggybacking each other. One will start, one will pitch out of the bullpen. So still some important decisions to be made. The hard decision is that Calvin Maduro is out of options, and Jose Mercedes is on the AAA roster, so there's a little bit more freedom of movement with Mercedes than with Maduro.
And of course, everybody has been talking and writing about the fact that Maduro was set up the way things are going, you know, to be in that number 5 spot. But Mercedes has pitched very well. Maduro has pitched well.
Yeah, and there's different ways you can go. Certainly, you could. You could option certainly have Mercedes back to AAA and let him start every 5th day and then pitch appropriately, or you could make him your long man, your bullpen, and he would be available also. And he's pitched extremely well, and they sort of take a poll among the coaches on who their list would be. And look at this fastball right in on the hands. Excuse me, strike to Garcia. But they kick it around every day. The staff meets, and who do we like? What do we see?
Nobody down. Morales at first for the Orioles. And the count remains 2-2 to Jesse Garcia reaching for that one.
Well, it gets you reaching for the slider, and that's why that fastball in was so effective to Garcia. It's hard to hit both, the one boring in on the hands and the one biting away.
Ryan Miner is next for the Orioles. Infield looking for 2 for the Cardinals, who have a 4-1 lead in the 8th. Fly ball. That's out number 1. Left fielder Henry. And now Ryan Miner. Talk about Miner and the things he's done this spring, along with his very steady work in third base. Miner, in 28 at-bats, has 9 hits, a home run, and 5 runs driven in.
He's had an outstanding spring with the glove and the bat.
A far cry from the struggle of last year when he was really down on himself.
He put a lot of pressure on himself.
And he's looking forward to going to the Rochester Red Wings.
Having a relaxing big year, and let's see what happens.
He'll always be known as the guy who took over at third base when Cal Ripken ended the streak.
Right.
And what was that when he was told he was going to be playing? Did he say, has anybody told Cal yet?
Yeah, they tell him, is it okay? Yeah, I believe Ryan's shoes and some other articles of clothing are in Cooperstown, remembering that event.
Yeah. And Miner has a base hit.
I remember that game vividly because I really didn't know what was going on. I was a pitching coach at the time, and I was out in the bullpen with the starters, and I came in and sat down and was really paying attention to the starters. And I remember the manager said to me, he said, see anything different out there? And I kind of went around the field. Oh, that's right. Yeah. You know? And next thing I looked up, Cal was 4 seats away from me, and I said, I haven't seen that in 17 years.
Cal, of course, you just saw the shot of him. He's still doing his stretching out in the left field corner. And that brings up Jerry Hairston. Hairston took over for DeShields at second base. DeShields on the afternoon, a couple of walks, a single, and a flyout. Hairston hitting an even 400, 12 for 30, a couple of round trippers and 4 runs driven in. So Jerry Hairston, you know, in most circumstances, you say this guy has earned the second base job, but Delino DeShields, the veteran incumbent, and that's the way Hargrove has said it from day one. Here's a strike to Jerry. And when Mike Hargrove was named manager, he said, when he was asked that question, because you knew that would be the hot potato.
Oh, yeah.
He said, Delino DeShields is my second baseman. He's the veteran. He lost the job because of injury, so he has it back. And, of course, the talk was that the Orioles would be looking to trade Delino. The 0-2 pitch. And, of course, as we talked to Sid Thrift and all the talks that go on, that still is probably in the works where they're talking about everybody.
I'd say everybody's name is, I'm sure, being mentioned, with the exception of a few. But you're always trying to, I guess, value the players. What are they worth?
1 ball and 2 strikes to Hairston. Runners at first and second, 1 out. There goes after that slider.
Yeah, it's just very tough on right-handers.
2 gone. Hairston goes down swinging. 3rd strikeout for James.
And then it's that slider. He runs one in on your hands, a fastball, and goes away with that slider.
And with Kingsale, the lefty, the switch hitter, coming up for the Orioles, it looks like Tony La Russa is going to make a change in the outfield. And a pitching change.
I guess he's going to pull the old double switch.
Double switch here.
Which will really mess up your spring scorecard.
Oh, dear. So James has done his job. Left-hander coming out of the bullpen. Orioles trailing 4-1. Have runners at first and second with 2 down. We'll be back. Tony La Russa is called on a veteran left-hander by the name of Mike Moeller, 31 years of age. Moeller comes on to face Eugene Kingsale, switch hitting center fielder for the Orioles. Going into right field, Thomas Howard in that double switch.
Sure.
So La Russa playing this one like we're in mid-season. And Kingsale on the off-speed pitch swings and misses. Mike Moeller had a very difficult first half for the Cardinals last year, but then when Scott Rudzinski went down, he came on strong and pitched to a 2.60 ERA the rest of the way.
Right, and they just acquired Jesse Orozco, so they've got some left-handed help now with the pen.
Strike 2 to Eugene. Kingsale also probably ticketed for Rochester. Looks like there'll be a pretty representative ball club for the Red Wings this year in Marv.
Marv Foley certainly excited about his club.
Kingsale struggling at the plate this spring, 6 for 30. No home runs, 3 runs driven in, but you don't expect many home runs out of this kid.
No, he's learning that, anytime he hits the ball in the air, he really gets a lecture from Terry Crowley. Hit the ball, use your speed, line drives and ground balls.
And that scatters the coaches along the first base side dugout. Kingsale, young man from Aruba. Really nice kid. Guy that grew up playing soccer in his native country and then took up baseball late in the game. Still learning the nuances of playing baseball. To the shortstop, and he got it. He got it. Nice play by the shortstop, Renteria. As the arm of Renteria beat the speed of Kingsale to the bag at first base. So high fives for Renteria. To the bottom of the 8th, it's the Cardinals 4, Orioles 1. Range of Tom Davis at third base. Tom can move good to his left side. Look at that.
Right. Off the glove, actually tipped it to Renteria. So nice assist from Tom Davis at third base.
Yeah, Lou Luca maybe working in the background.
Right. You got it.
I want to say hi to a couple of folks. Teddy and Pat are here from New Carrollton, Maryland, and Alex Kissel is here from the Virgin Islands. They're all big Orioles fans, and they want to say hi.
Nice.
Sean Dunston will lead off against the new Orioles pitcher, the 4th of the afternoon, Al Reyes. Reyes coming off a very strong outing in Port St. Lucie.
Well, he probably had a little conversation with Calvin Pickering, see how things are going down in the Virgin Islands.
Strike 1 call. Well, Reyes in that game against the Mets a couple of nights ago threw strikes. Didn't mess around. He went after the hitters.
13 out of 15 and 1 for 1. So 14 of the last 16 pitches by Reyes strikes. I think that's 15 out of 17.
Conine will make the grab for the out. Talking to Brian Ebel, the Orioles assistant trainer, and he said, one of the things that has really slowed Reyes in the first half of spring training was that he was being plagued and bothered by the virus, but didn't talk a lot about it and really did not have his full strength.
Well, and I also think the other reason, every year for like the last 6 years, Reyes has played winter ball. This year he decided to take it off because, as we did, figured he'd be penciled in as a member of that bullpen core and wanted to rest up for the summer. Just maybe another reason why off to a little slow start.
Now, here's a question about winter ball. Obviously, it's a positive for many guys, but there you are, you're throwing more innings. And does it take its effect at the end?
And it has to be a consideration in spring training. The guys that have come from playing winter ball maybe 3-4 weeks before spring training, or somebody like take Molina from Colorado coming down here and just really getting outside for the first time when he comes to Florida. But I only played winter ball 1 season, and it really affected my next year. Yeah, I really, by July, August, I was physically just worn down. You play 162 in the summer and 20, 30 in the spring, and then play another 60 in winter ball. You're playing year-round. Your arm, certainly as a pitcher, needs a rest, in my opinion.
Thomas Howard with a 3-ball, 2-strike count.
But a lot of players, they're going home to play winter ball, right? So it's a pretty hard play not to put the glove and spikes on.
Conine will not be able to handle it. Jeff tried to short hop it.
One of those all-or-nothing plays with the speed of Howard going down the line. Kind of a tough error. Because this is what speed does. Instead of laying back and playing a nice hop with the speed of Howard, you have to play an in-between hop. So it's sort of all or nothing. You can lay back and you'll get an infield single. You take a chance of making the play, and that's what Conine does.
And that's That's the second Orioles error of the ball game. E3, first baseman Conine. J.D. Drew. Drew is 0 for 3 this afternoon. A couple of strikeouts in his previous at-bats. And Reyes has the first one outside. Now Reyes looking over his shoulder at the runner at first base. Howard infield at double play depth with one out. Bottom of the 8th. 4-1 St. Louis. 1-1. Rocky Coppinger, the man that went to the Brewers for Al Reyes with the problems with the arm this year. I guess surgery for Rocky.
Bad elbow.
Yep. 1 ball, 1 strike. Go over to first base.
Every pitch, Willie.
Orioles' only run of the ball game coming in the 2nd inning. Jesus Garcia with an RBI single. The Cardinals lead it 4-1. Drew high and to left field. B.J. Surhoff makes the grab. 2 gone. And Reyes still has that runner at first base with 2 out.
Number 82, third baseman Jason Bowers.
Jason Bowers will come up now.
Also notice Tom Davis,
Tom
and
Davis,
Luca.
Right.
And their numbers are usually always an indication of your maybe importance to the club at the time, and start getting up around the 80s or 90s. Not in the immediate picture.
I may be dating myself, but when I see a number 82 on a uniform, I think of Raymond Berry.
There you go.
A former great catcher, I should say, end for the Colts with Johnny Unitas.
That's right.
Garcia will field and flip to Hairston for the force out at second base. Well, we go to the top of the 9th inning here in Jupiter. Orioles trailing the Cardinals 4-1. Guys, to the left of your screen, the tuna, Bill Parcells. You see that, former coach of the Giants, Patriots, and the Jets, Super Bowl veteran. And, of course, in the far left side, a man who's been to the World Series.
A lot in common, a lot of wins. A lot of success among that group.
And of course, you were talking in the break when we first spotted the tuna that a fellow who has also won a lot of basketball games here not too many days ago.
Right, Bobby Knight was the thing, right? So it's kind of night and day from one day to the next.
Bobby Knight in a bit of hot water.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Maybe wanted to get out of the heat of Bloomington coming down here. The second baseman will handle it, and B.J. Surhoff is gone. Now the Orioles hitting woes continue, and there's Bob Knight.
Boy, they're really out coaching us today, aren't they?
Hey, how can you beat
them? You got Parcells on the sideline, Bobby Knight.
Red Shane-Dinks right
probably goes and wants to go to the triangle and 2 defense, and Parcells want to go to prevent defense at this point.
Of course, there's a former great Cardinal, Red Shane-Dinks, right next to him. Yeah. So Tony La Russa, who some people consider one of the best managers, if not the best manager in the game, getting all this other brain power from these guys.
Let's try another sport, right? Just about have them all covered.
Wayne Kirby takes a strike from
just being able to decipher all that information for La Russa.
Kirby with 2 strikes. Wayne Kirby, his first at bat today.
Down to me.
As Mike Moeller works the 9th, and the Orioles continue to struggle at the plate, continue to struggle scoring runs.
I wonder how Knight thinks they're playing today.
Oh, yeah. Another ground ball to the second baseman. 2 up, 2 down for the Orioles. Down to their final out in this ball game. What if they all, kind of interesting to sit at a dinner table with Bob Knight,
wouldn't that be
Bill Parcells, Tony La Russa, and Jimmy Leland. Imagine the 4 stories they'd be able to tell.
That'd be interesting.
You think it would become a who can top this?
Wow, I think, yeah, there might be some tremendous stories. You might want to have a recorder around for that one. Well, in football, we do this.
Yeah.
And in basketball, we do this.
Another ground ball to the second baseman. It's Tommy Davis. There's the 3rd out of the ball game, and that's it. Orioles drop it to the Cardinals here in Jupiter. Final score, Cardinals 4, Orioles 1. Cardinals, but not outscore them. The Orioles lose their third straight. Final score, St. Louis 4, Orioles 1. Fred Manfred and Mike Flanagan back in Jupiter, Florida. And Mike, the Orioles now dropped 2 games under 500 at 9-11. Mike Messina started. He picks up the loss today.
Yeah, he was pretty impressive. A tough first inning, kind of dictated. Pitched out of a jam in the first, gave up 1. They gave up a couple later on that they probably shouldn't have given up. But pitching was good enough to win on most days today. But the Orioles, at this point anyway, at least the last 3 days, have not scored any runs. Just 2 runs the last 27 innings.
And we should point out to the fans, we are not on the set of Hollywood Squares. We're at Roger Dean Stadium.
Right.
Will you take the X or the O?
Right. You'd say, well, I'll take circle to block, you know.
Well, the Orioles continuing to struggle at the plate, Mike. When do you start getting concerned? We were talking about this yesterday.
Well, you know, a split squad game tomorrow will be kind of interesting to see if he can split the squad up and maybe get some runs.
Well, the Orioles drop it here to the St. Louis Cardinals. Final score, St. Louis 4, the Orioles 1. We'll be back. Well, the next Orioles spring training telecast will be on HTS. It'll come tomorrow on March 25th. That'll be tomorrow at 1 o'clock when the Orioles and the Dodgers meet. The Orioles and the Dodgers will go at each other in Fort Lauderdale. Jose Mercedes for the Orioles and Oral Hershiser for the Dodgers. For Mike Flanagan, I'm Fred Manfred. Our final score, St. Louis 4, the Orioles 1. Orioles baseball has been a presentation of CBS Cable, the Baltimore Orioles, and Major League Baseball. Final score once again, St. Louis 4, the Orioles 1.